Okay, let's start. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On the part of the Senate, this meeting of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System, created pursuant to Section 27 of Republic Act Number 8436, as amended by Section 27 of Republic Act Number 9369, otherwise known as the Automated Election System Law, is hereby called to order. The Chair would like to acknowledge and recognize the presence of the members of the Senate panel, myself, and of course Senator Tito Soto. Mr. Chairman?
On the part of the House of Representatives, the Chair hereby calls this meeting to order. Papakilala ko po yung mga kasamahan ko sa Kamara de Representante, pero unang-una, happy birthday, Chairman. Tapos na ako mag-birthday nung Lunes, so ikaw na pong bahala sa pakain mamaya dahil birthday mo ngayong araw na to. Kasama po natin si Congressman Victor Ortega ng La Union. Andito din po si Congressman Elpidio Barsaga Jr. ng Cavite. The other members of the House might join us later. Congressman Edgar Irice of Caloocan, Representative Carlos Padilla, the Deputy Speaker from Nueva Vizcaya, as well as two representatives from the party list, Representative Carol Jane Lopez and Arnold T. might join us later.
The Senate has an additional member present, Senator Cynthia Villar. Good morning, ma'am. Part of our agenda is the organizational setup of the Oversight Committee. So may I refer you to the JCOC AES Resolution Number 1 on the adoption of the Rules of Procedure of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System. For the information of this committee, the members, and of course the public, the proposed rules are the same rules adopted on March 4, 2009 by the previous JCOC on the AES, with a simple modification on Section 4 thereof, which indicates that the Senate chairperson of the JCOC of the Senate panel is to be the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation instead of the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes and Laws. So another modification is on Section 7, indicating that 3 members of the Oversight Committee shall constitute a quorum to conduct a meeting, provided that each panel shall be represented by at least one of its members. Mr. Chairman, you have something to say? Yeah.
We fully support the House panel, likewise do support the position as articulated by the chair of the Senate panel.
That's Senator Soto has a question. That is precisely the modification. We are relaxing. Yes, Section 7, Mr. Senator, we are relaxing instead from the old rule of at least 2 members present per panel. We will require only at least 1. Okay, that's the modification
on the table now.
Yes, in effect, we are relaxing the rule on quorum. So, do we have any motion to?
Yes,
Congressman,
to Congressman
Barsaga.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully move that we dispense with the reading of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System, and I further move that we approve the same.
There being no objection, okay, to adopt the internal rules as proposed are hereby adopted. So I think the next step should be that this committee should publish the rules as adopted and as modified. May I ask our committee secretary, Attorney Joey Garcia, to acknowledge our guests here present.
Okay, good morning, everyone. The committee would like to acknowledge the presence of our resource person in today's Joint Congressional Oversight Committee hearing. Honorable Sixto S. Brillantes Jr., Chairman, Commission on Elections. Honorable Lucenito N. Tagle, Commissioner, COMELEC. We have Honorable Christian Robert S. Lim, Commissioner, COMELEC. Honorable Al A. Pareño, Commissioner, COMELEC. Honorable Louis Tito Guia, Commissioner, COMELEC. Yusek Luis Napoleon Casambre, Chairman, COMELEC Advisory Council. Executive Director, Information and Communications Technology Office. We have Attorney Marcelo Bragado, Legal Consultant, representing Yusek Alberto Muyot, a member of the COMELEC Advisory Council. ASEC Raymond E. Liboro, member, COMELEC Advisory Council. Professor Romel Feria, member, COMELEC Advisory Council. Mr. Angel Averia Jr., member, COMELEC Advisory Council. Dr. John Paul Vergara, member, COMELEC Advisory Council. Mr. Johnny Cardenas, Vice Chair, Internal Affairs, PPCRB. Attorney Rona Ann Caritos, member, COMELEC Advisory Council. Ms. Corazon de la Paz Bernardo, former member, COMELEC Advisory Council, now with Lente Namfrel. Mr. Rogelio Quevedo, former member, COMELEC Advisory Council. Mr. Norman Cabrera, President, Kapatiran Party. Mr. Gas Lagman, Convener, Transparent Elections. Mr. Ricardo Penson, Convener, Alliance for Truth, Integrity, and Nationalism. We have also former Representative Glenn A. Chong, former Representative Christian M. Señeres. Senator.
Thank you, Attorney Garcia. Okay, so let's proceed with our agenda items. Maybe it's best to go back to, since this is the JCOC on the AES, Automated Election System, it's best to go back to the 2013 elections. Let us hear from the COMELEC on how you, the COMELEC, assess the performance of the automated election systems implemented in 2013. But we will not end this hearing this morning without hearing your timetable or your plans for the 2016. Okay, hindi po natin darating po tayo ron. But pagdating po sa 2013, Mr. Chairman, I understand you have a written report, right?
Yeah, good morning, Your Honors. We have a written report. It is now in the process of being published. We're having all the senators and congressmen are going to provide copies of this written report as required under the Constitution. So we have the report for the entire process of what happened during the May 13, 2013 elections, as well as the October barangay elections. This report will be coming out most probably by next week after I discuss this matter with the NPO, the National Printing Office, who promised us that it will be printed by next week or on or before the end of the month. So we'll be able to distribute what happened during the 2013 election. Our own assessment, since we were the ones that administered the elections of May 13 as well as the October barangay, it will be self-serving on our part to say that it was a successful election.
This committee, I'd like to acknowledge another member of the Senate panel, Senator J.B. Ejercito. Good morning, Senator. So this committee would be more concerned about the first part of that report, the 2013, because it used AES. Now, for the record, the barangay elections did not use any automated election system.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. The
So,
barangay was manual.
We will just focus on the mandate of this joint oversight committee. So, your assessment is that it was a success, the 2013. But what were the, if you can still remember, what are contained in your reports, which the problems which you encountered during 2013? The big ones,
Your Honor,
the major ones.
The major, CF card replacements, some issues on the transmission. Yes, replacement of the machines which did not function initially. That's it. Basically, it should be a replacement of the PCOS which did not function immediately, replacement of safeguards, and some problems in the transmission, especially in the transmission of the to the transparency server, as well as the other servers. This would be the basic problems that we encountered during the 2013 elections. Insofar as the results, however, there is no issue as to the results of the elections. And I don't think anybody would be able to question the results of the elections.
So the chairman mentioned at least three problems which you consider to be the three most major ones, no? you encountered in 2013. PCOS machine replacements, CF card replacements, and the failure to transmit to the transparency server. Okay. Let's go to the budget, Mr. Chairman, so that we will be very clear about it. How much did we spend in holding the 2013 elections? And if you can, at the total, and then if you can tell us the figure related to automation, related to hardware, related to software, and to the management of the software. Will that be included in the report that you will be giving to members of Congress next week?
It will not be part of the report, Your Honor. The expenses that we incurred, the specifics of the expenses that we incurred, or the budget that we incurred for the 2013 is not part of the report. The report will really cover preparations as well as the election day activity and the post-election activities. Money matters like the budget will not be covered by our report. However, we have the details of this. No? With the details of this, in fact, our finance, let me just explain that our finance director, who was in charge of the May 13, 2013 elections, retired, so that somebody took over, and therefore we are now reviewing all of this. But we have all this prepared already to be submitted to the committee. If necessary, we shall be able to give all the details of this in writing. You know.
On behalf of the committee, Mr. Chairman, we are requesting for the financial report.
We will, Your Honor.
So, but in fairness to the COMELEC, the entire cost of the election, these are not all about automated, diba? So the allowances kasama dun eh. So if you could give us the entire cost and then disaggregate or itemize the expenses.
That is correct, Your Honor. If you just for recollection, based on recollection, we did in fact spend about 1.8 billion for the exercise of the option to purchase.
Ilan po?
1.8 billion for the exercise of the option to purchase of the PCOS machines which we used in 2010. That's what we paid for. And then we have all the expenses for all the unbundled services. This is specifically for the AES.
Yes, sir.
And for the unbundled services, we spend so much for all the other services like deployment, ballot box, ballot printing, ballot paper,
the pen,
marking
marker,
pen,
yeah.
Technical support, transmissions expenses, all of this would reach approximately, as far as I can recall, should be about 7 billion.
Mr. Chairman, 1.8 billion pesos as additional payment so that we will now be the owners of the PCOS machines, di ba?
That is correct.
Right. That is
when
on
we
top.
purchased that
Right.
last March.
Right. That is
2012.
on top of the previous payment of how much, Mr. Chairman? Made in 2007? 2010.
The
Made in
1.8 billion is equivalent to the 30% of the total cost. We did pay the 70% ahead for
Yes.
the 2010 election by way of lease.
How
Because we
much?
entered into a contract.
How much is that, Mr. Chairman? The one we paid in 2010?
The hardware alone is 4 billion.
4 billion hardware.
If, we will recall again, in 2010, Your Honor, the total bidding price where Smartmatic won the bidding was for a bid of about 7 billion. Yeah.
But there were bundled services.
There were bundled services for all the others. These were all given to Smartmatic, in which case we spent more or less about 9 billion for 2010. For 2010.
For 2010.
For 2013, much less than that, because we did not pay for the lease anymore. We simply purchased it at 1.8 billion, and then we unbundled the services and went into public bidding. And we were able to save much during the public bidding, considering that we have to pay the lowest bidder. We got some savings based on the ABC during our public bidding.
Mr. Chairman, you were not the chairman then in 2010, but when the COMELEC bidded for the machines, the specifications that COMELEC required was an accuracy of 99.995%. Under the law, there should be a random manual audit, which we did in 2013. And
that is correct.
Do you confirm that the conclusion of the random manual audit is that the accuracy of the machines used was 99.97%?
That's correct, Your Honor, because the random manual audit is not to cover the accuracy, the 99.99995. It was supposed to only have a random manual audit of specific precincts for enumerated precincts, which will not necessarily be 99.9. The 99.9 was for the accuracy, more or less, of the results of the general elections.
Yeah, but if the specs require 99.995% accuracy, and you want to check compliance with your specifications, how will you do it? One way is the random manual audit, precisely. And for 200 plus precincts, the report says that the required accuracy was not met. That is my interpretation. I don't know the members of this committee if you share my interpretation. What is the purpose of a random manual audit? How can a machine be checked? So people will check the machine.
First of all, allow us to explain, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
the random manual audit, as provided for under Republic Act 9369, 8436 as amended by 9369, requires only one precinct per congressional district, which means it could not serve as the basis for an 80,000 precincts, where only 200 more than 200 precincts out of 80,000 would be the basis of any conclusion that could be derived. The purpose of the random manual audit is to simply have an initial picture of what has happened in particular congressional districts. That's why the law requires only one per congressional district, which means it is very difficult for us to make a general conclusion that if we don't get the 99.99.5 in the random manual audit, there is something wrong with the elections. What I'm saying is that the 99.9 as required was really for purposes of accepting during the bidding. It was not really the test for everything. So far, in 2 elections already where we used the same machine, there has never been any problem regarding the results. The results, which means we have opened so many protest cases, and none of the protest cases has succeeded up to now. Not a single error has been committed. There are errors, 1 or 2, but it will not affect the results of not adversely affect the results of the election. So insofar as the results of the election are concerned, there is no problem insofar as the PCOS machine is concerned. Problems will be some glitches, as we have said. Failure of the machine to function on election day, replacement of machines, replacement of CF cards, problems with transmission, which is not necessarily attributable to the machines. There are several factors whenever transmission are having problems. So we cannot make any general conclusion. What we know in the Commission on Elections is that when the results are questioned and protests are filed and we open the ballots, there are no discrepancies, practically none. If there is, it should be less than 1 so much percent. 1 out of 1,000 in 1 precinct, 2 ballots. This is the kind of accuracy that we have.
It's good, Mr. Chairman, that you mentioned the election protest, because I was going to ask about the election protest. So you're telling us that no protest which the commission has been involved in has proven any fraud as to the count.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And
Including protests in the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal.
How did you know about this, Mr. Chairman, about
We
the
are
HRET?
Well, we are actually monitoring also the results of the House Electoral Tribunal, because any problem in the revision of ballots in the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal are referred to us, especially when we talk of the decryption of the ballots. Because the ballots are decrypted in case of there are issues as to the physical examination or physical revision of the ballots, we refer to the decryption of the CF card picture, the picture image of the ballots, so that we can determine whether the ballots, the physical ballot, has been tampered or manipulated.
And how many election protests are you referring to, Mr. Chairman? As COMELEC, which passed through the COMELEC?
We have about, now for 2013, we have about 58 as far as I know.
50? 58?
58, yes.
58
compared
election
to the
protests.
2010, which was about 98.
Okay. So not a single Protestant has
Not a single
succeeded?
Protestant has won in the automated elections of 2010 and 2013, and we don't expect any.
Okay, but Mr. Chairman, when we were briefed by the Random Manual Audit Committee, they referred a problematic situation to the technical committee headed by the DOST, and there was a mention of digital lines being created by the machines.
That is true.
Yes. Have you also seen these digital lines in
Yes.
the protests, which you decrypted, the images you decrypted?
That is correct, Your Honor. They are reflected in the decrypted ballots. They are reflected. Some of them do affect, but does not adversely affect the results. Some are lines which do not touch the ovals and therefore has no legal effect. The general impression is that it does not have any effect whatsoever in the general results, except that it will affect the results by some small amounts, because not all the ballots have lines. In fact, in the over 50 precincts of protest cases we have, not all are reflected with lines. There are, as far as I know, there should be about 4 or 5, at maximum of 6 out of the over 50 protest cases. And none of these lines were reflected. None of them has affected the results of the election. It has affected the total results in the sense that it will either reduce the votes of one or the other, but it will not affect the winner or the loser of the protest cases, considering the margin of victory and the margin of defeat of the Protestant.
That's why I never forgot that information I received in one of my hearings, because I'm concerned, because if machines create digital lines, and
yes, Your Honor.
it may affect.
This is part of the enhancement that we're trying to resolve in the coming 2016 elections.
Is this the reason why you are requesting for brand new machines? Are you?
Not necessarily, Your Honor. We are more
Oh.
concerned about, there are two factors that has to be considered in determining what happened to these lines. Our findings based on the DOST report is that it could have affected the Mylar, or it could have been affected by the marking pen, which means the ink would go down. But as we move on with the ballots, then it will disappear ultimately. So there should be about 4, 5, 6 affected, and ultimately it will disappear.
Yeah, but the vote of one voter affects the.
That is correct.
Yeah, the vote
will
of 4
affect
other voters.
if it touches the ovals.
Yeah, if we blame the pen, then the vote of one voter affects the vote of the next 4 voters. If that is the cause, if that is the cause of the digital lines. Did we notice digital lines in the 2010 elections?
No.
In the protests that were opened in
As far as I know, there was no report of any lines in the 2010 election.
So that's why
this came out in the 2013.
So, yeah, digital lines were new phenomenon in 2013 elections.
That is correct,
Yes.
Your Honor. That is why we're trying to investigate the two aspects that could be the result
Right.
of this
So
digital lines.
as of now, Mr. Chairman, we cannot pinpoint the cost of the digital lines.
We are more or less pinpointed. It's either the marking pen or the mylar itself. We are trying to
The
solve
mylar
this
is the parang film. Is that
the param. Yeah, that's correct.
drum? Is it a drum? Is it a roll? What is it? What is that?
Your
Yes,
Honor, it's a protective sheet covering the lens of the optical scanner.
What gave that protective sheet a line? The pen also?
Because
the ink?
it stands between the optical lens and the paper ballot. So if the ink of the paper ballot is wet, it will stick in that mylar sheet instead of the optical lens. So, but however, if the ink will now stick in the mylar sheet, the optical lens will read as if the ink is etched, is a mark on the ballot.
So the two reasons given by the chairman ultimately go back to the ink. That's you're blaming the ink.
Or the mylar, Your Honor. Because it could be possible that the mylars were not replaced since 2010 and that the mylars have been used already rough. So that's why in terms of when the ballot with the wet ink passes through, the ink will stick now with the mylar, because the mylar is supposed to have a special coating that the ink should not stick.
Mr. Chairman, do you share my concern about the digital line? So this is a small matter.
Based on what we have determined so far, based on the protest cases that we have opened, it will not really adversely affect the results of the protest cases. Note that what we have noted is that if the line that comes out is very thin, it will not affect even if it goes through the ovals. But if it is thick, then it will affect because of the thresholding. Remember that we have already lowered the thresholding from 2020 to 2013, such that if the line that comes out is thick, it will affect. It will result to an overvote, which means if you shade, for example, the office of the mayor, there are two candidates. You shade one, but the line comes out, and the line touches both ovals of the two candidates for mayor, then that becomes an overvote. The one that was shaded will not be counted because of the overvote. And that is the effect of this line. But it would depend really on where the line will appear, how thick will the line be, randomly, and how many are these lines. As I've said, in so many protests that we have opened, there are not many. There are a few. In fact, this was the cause. We were able to determine this based on our own initiative, coming from the random manual audit, because we have, if I recall correctly, there were about 9 or 8 precincts where we could not determine where it was coming from. Thus, we have to bring it up to the TEC, to the Technical Training Group, and then they have to determine that there was in fact a line, because you cannot see the line on the basis of the physical ballot. The line will appear when decrypted. That is why we started to look at the protest cases.
Senator Soto?
So, just one question, Mr. Chairman. So, anong solusyon?
The solution is if we're going to come out with new machines, then probably we'll have to insist or make sure that the mylar is okay, plus our quality control on the marking pen. Strict quality control on the marking pen. These are the two causes. If we go into new machines, which we will insist, if we will make use of the old machines or the existing machines, then we will probably have to make some replacements of the mylar and still be strict on the quality control of the ink as well as the marking pens to solve the problem.
Mr. Chairman, how much would be the difference in cost from the old machines to what you want to insist on, new machines?
Cost us to
Cost. Budget, sir. Cost.
Well, it will be a big difference because if we use the existing machines that we already purchased in 2012 and which we use in 2013, then we will have a big savings. If we will buy new machines totally, then we will dispense with the use of all the existing machines. and come out with the new ones, the cost will be bigger, much bigger.
For specific data, Your Honor, if using the same clustering of 1,000 maximum per precinct, for 2016, for 86,100 units, we will be spending about 6.9 billion. If you use the old machines with additional new. But if we entirely purchase entirely new 86,100 machines, the cost will balloon to 12.9 billion.
But will that 12.9 billion solve all these other problems? Or not?
Not necessarily, Your Honor.
Not necessarily. Because if we are going to a new technology, new machines, new software, then we're as if we're just starting again with a new one. As we were going back to 2010, we'll have a totally new machines, totally new software. We will have to be studying the entire system again. Insofar as the existing machines, we've already used it twice in 2 elections. We already know what are the problems, like the problem on the lines, like problems on the CF cards, like problems on the transmission. So, while it will cost more if we buy new technology machines, much more, balloon to about 12 billion.
May we hear from the DOS? The House, by the way, right now is currently debating the budget already. No? We're hearing it, so it's quite important for us to know really what the direction is going to be. But may we hear from the DOST about the comment that the Chair has presented to this Office?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. The DOST concurs with the Chairman's comment. We also further, in fact, the TEC found that those machines with unresolved discrepancies, there was foreign matter on the scanner imager drum that contributed to the false readings of the ballot paper. This foreign matter can be bits of ballot paper that were saturated with marking ink and adhered to the scanner drum. This is can commonly be seen, sir, in fax machines. Fax machines, they have that line. It's the same problem. No? The recommendation would be that additional testing to ensure that the sensor is clean, no, prior to use is recommended. That's all, sir. The problem will recur whether it's new machines, old machines. It will not. It will still be the same. So it's just a matter of implementing a countermeasure to ensure that the machine is clean when we use it. Thank you.
Yusek Casambre, that's another theory to explain the digital lines. So foreign matter. COMELEC attributes the digital lines to the ink on the mylar. Is it the same foreign matter ink? Or pwedeng accumulation of dust yan and paper particles which now appear to be like ink? So pwedeng because if it's ink, ito nga ang point ko eh. The ink came from a pen. The pen supplier in 2010 did not cost digital lines. The pen supplier in 2013 may have cost digital lines. May we know for the record who was the pen supplier for 2013?
As far as we know, SPH was the supplier. Let me just say, Your Honor,
Ayun, Chairman,
it's not
HP?
SPH.
SPH, Sierra P. Papa Hotel. SPH, Trading.
Trading. Okay, sige. Sige po. Mr. Chairman, go ahead. Ano pa yung sasabihin nyo?
Hindi, sasabihin ko, hindi ho necessarily yung pen o yung ink. Kasi yung ink ho, it is really more of a quality control. Kasi pag problema dyan yung tinta, natutuyo kuminsan naman basang-basa. No? So it's a matter of control really, and that's a very difficult job. So walang nangyari in 2010. Nothing happened really in 2010. At the time, the bidding was bundled, so Smartmatic took care of all of this, including the quality control. Well, we did take over in 2013, and we were also as strict in the quality control. But then you cannot actually one by one make sure So, meron hong nangyayari. That's why we're not even sure that it's the ink. It could be the mylar, or it could be some foreign objects. And this is what we're trying to determine. Pero sinasabi ko nga ho, based on existing and new one, as Yusek Cassandra is saying, the same problem could crop up. We cannot predict all of these things. These are the small matters that crop up every now and then. What is very important to us is that it will not adversely affect the total results. As in fact, it has not. Now, if we will try to blow it up and say there is a line and results of the elections will be affected, it is very possible. But out of what happened in 2013 is that it did not really affect adversely the results of the election so far. So far, all that we have opened.
Only those which sought a review of the results.
That's correct.
Ayun na, but some people there may have been affected and did not seek review. That's a possibility.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay,
but remember, when we review it based on an electoral protest, we review all the ballots of one particular municipality or city or province. We're reviewing thousands of ballots. Not unlike what happened in the random manual audit, where we reviewed only 234 precincts in the entire country, and we were able to determine that there were 8 which were affected by these lines. So now we're going over it. We're not finished yet. But what I've said is that based on what we have seen so far, all protest cases, even in the HRED cases, which we are monitoring also because they might have been affected, it does not adversely affect the results. It will affect if there are numerous lines coming out. Numerous lines, and that the thickness is such that it will affect the threshold. But it does not appear to be that way for the 2013. But we still have to control this for 2016.
Mr. Chair, the House would like to recognize the presence of Congressman Edgar Risa.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned 58 election protests. You decrypted, you saw the scanned images. Can you ask your people to give this committee a summary of how many machines generated digital lines?
Your Honor, let me just say that this is technically under review. No? Judicial proceedings, ito quasi-judicial proceeding, under protest. But we can.
Yes, sir. Hindi naman. I'm not after the count of the.
Yes, we can give you the protest cases where there are lines discovered.
Yes,
how
sir.
many were, but not necessarily. And we can also show you that it will not affect the results because, as we have always discouraged Protestants, if their losing margin is over 1,000 already, I think they should forget what they protest already.
Congressman Barsaga, please.
Just a clarification, Mr. Chairman. What about in the random manual audit of
234 congressional districts, one per congressional district. In 2013,
did these bloodlines appear in the course of your random manual audit?
Your Honor, the lines were first discovered in the random manual audit findings. There were about 11 or 12 affected precincts in the random manual audit.
So I think, Mr. Chairman, it would be better that we use the results in the random manual audit instead of using those cases which appeared in the various protests, because the protestee or mob protestant may even use that to advance their cause insofar as the protest is concerned, unlike those which appeared in the random manual audit.
I'm just asking, just to be very clear, I'm just asking for data, Congressman. It will not affect the pending cases because, as mentioned by Commissioner Lim, we first heard of this digital lines when the committee on the random manual audit gave a report. But I am now hearing from the chairman that they also saw digital lines in the protest cases pending. So it is more widespread than I initially thought or imagined. And then I also talked to an election lawyer yesterday, and in the protest, he or she was handling, he or she also mentioned digital lines. So, and then maybe we can ask members of the HRET if they also saw digital lines in the protest pending before the HRET. Because as a member of the JCOC-AES, I'm worried that we're spending so much money for a technology which, even if brand new, like a brand new fax machine, can create digital lines which may or may not cross the ovals, and then which may or may not be thick enough to affect the elections. But parang ano lang yun eh, nakikipagsapalaran tayo and hoping na hindi nga maapektuhan. Paano kung lumipat na ngayon yung placement ng digital line? Pwedeng maapektuhan. Admitted tayo lahat doon. Congressman Barsaga.
Yes, I agree with the view of our distinguished chairman. Ang point ko lamang, kung gusto nating makita yung digital lines, we might as well use the ballots that were used in the random manual audit, so that neither party in protest cases could use, in the event that we shall be using those blurred lines appearing in ballots that are the subject of an electoral protest.
Can I explain, Your Honors? I just wanted to say that in the random manual audit, we actually determined these lines appearing in 11 precincts out of the 234. In the protest cases, we opened thousands and thousands of ballots. Kasi pinoprotestahan lahat, like in the governorship for one province. Thousands ang binubuksan namin presinto. Now, if the suggestion of the distinguished congressman from Cavite is that we go into the random manual audit, we can open up the 11. You cannot determine these lines. These lines do not appear in the physical count. They appear in the decrypted ballots. They appear in the decrypted ballots. You do not see them in the physical count. That is why there are cases where protest cases like municipalities where the regional trial courts are the one opening the ballots, they will not be able to see any kind of digital lines unless they ask.
Just a clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There are
So in
discrepancies.
the random manual
Chairman.
audit, these lines,
Yes.
these digital lines did not appear or do
The
not
reason
appear.
why we have to go back, yes, it did not. The reason why we have to refer it, in fact, we took the initiative to refer it to the OST or to the technical group, is because of the results in the election returns as against the physical count. If there is a big discrepancy or if there is a discrepancy between the physical count and the election returns, then we have to account for that discrepancy. And we cannot account for it by simply going over the physical ballot. What we have to do is to decrypt this all the ballots, see what happened. And it was determined that there were lines that touch the ovals, such that the election returns did not tally with the physical count of the ballots, because you cannot see the lines.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. So sa madaling sabi, sa ating random manual audit, hindi lumabas tong mga these lines.
Hindi ho.
Hindi.
Hindi mo makikita eh.
Hindi makikita.
Hindi. Makikita.
So, it is-
Bakit malalaman nyo lang that there is a discrepancy because of the results of the election return as against the physical count of the ballot in the random manual audit.
So in the random manual audit, walang pagkakaiba yung actual count sa resulta.
Meron nga ho eh. Yung resulta sa election return does not coincide with the actual
So in the
physical
random
count
manual
of the
audit,
ballot.
you have to go deeper para makita to.
Correct. We went into the decryption to see kung bakit hindi nagkapareho.
Gano'ng karami ang epektado sa random manual audit?
11 or 12 precincts,
11
Your
or
Honor.
12.
Out of the 234.
Was that isa sa bawat presinto o posibleng 5 sa isang presinto?
Hindi po. One precinct per legislative district yun po. No? So, hindi po. Pwedeng mga 10, ganun. Sa
Sa isang presinto?
Opo. Kasi po, pagpasok dyan, dumidikit yung tinta, mamaya konti, nawawala din yung tinta, no? Kasi dumikit na siya sa balota eh.
Do we have the same supplier of ink in 2013 and 2010 elections?
Not the same supplier of marking pen.
Not the same supplier. And this defect did not appear in the 2010 elections.
We did not see any defect such as that.
Okay, thank you.
Here from the COMELEC advisory. Okay, Congressman Ortega.
Aside from the lines, Mr. Chairman, were there any other things out of the ordinary that were detected in the manual audit?
As far as we mentioned already, the principal problems is the lack of the PICOS machine failure to function immediately. We have to replace them. Safeguards has to be replaced. In the transmission issue, kasi yung transmission nagkaroon ho ng mga konting problema.
I
Aside from
agree
that,
that.
then these are, to us in the commission, we find this not really that significant.
Yeah.
Because when we saw the results in the random manual audit and we were able to go over the protest cases where we found lines, we noticed that it will not really have any general effect, adverse effect, no? Baka meron ho, if the voting is close, very close, let's say the lead of the Protestant is only about 5, 10, or 50 votes, chances are that it might. But if people are talking 1,000, we have not seen lines reaching up to 1,000 or 2,000 or even 500 or even 200. I don't think we have. So that if the protest case involves 1,000, as I've said, if you have 1,000 ang lead, napakahirap na mga bulin. Maski 500 nga, hirap-hirap na eh. Kaya nga sinasabi ko, it will not really have any direct adverse effect. Unless talagang grabe yung linya na masama yung pen, tsaka masama pa yung mylar, such that all the ballots have a line, which we have not seen in all the protest cases that we have opened so far. And none so far also in the HRET. Remember that in the HRET, they cannot see the lines. If they want to know if there is discrepancy between the election return and the physical count, they have to go to us for decryption. Kami ho magde-decrypt niyan eh. So we will know whether the protest cases in the HRET have some lines or not. Kasi sa amin ho magpapadecrypt eh. Walang decryption process ang HRET.
Just one more question, Mr. The main purpose of automation is precisely to speed up the election process, Mr. Chairman. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Well, I have been in 10 elections, and in 9 elections, I was proclaimed before midnight of election day. During the last election, it took them 3 days to proclaim me. I don't know what were the glitches in the process, in the transmission, or whatever it is, but that's what I'd like to know.
The extraordinary thing that happened in La Union, Your Honor, in the manual, you were proclaimed in less than 1 day in a manual count. That is the one that is totally abnormal. Only because you won probably by 100,000 or 500,000. That does not usually happen in manual. It is very, very unusual for you to be proclaimed in 1 day in the manual election, in the 9 elections. Now, in the automated, 3 days is actually the normal one. In all other, I would dare say, in any other congressional district or any province, they would say that they were proclaimed in 1 day in manual elections. I doubt whether it has happened anywhere else, except probably in your district. I know because in your district, you always win by millions. So there is really no problem.
Now, I think the problem was more in the transmittal of the results from the different the polling places, rather, transmission to the provincial.
Transmission does not go direct to the provincial, Your Honor. Let me just say, the transmission goes to the two unofficial, the transmission to the transparency in the central server. What goes to the official count is it goes to the MBOC, to the municipal level. That those that where there is no result, or which means it cannot transmit, we usually upload the CF card and bring it to the precinct, to the municipal level. That is why the official count is always complete, in the sense that those that not transmitted, you can actually physically transport the CF card for unloading in the municipal level.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, in connection with the query of Congressman Ortega, Mr. Chairman Brillantes, I just want to ask also, no, kasi nasaksihan ko rin yan noong nakarang eleksyon. Dalawa po yung tumatakbong magulong ko sa San Juan at sa Maynila. No, pareho pong nasaksihan po namin yung canvassing. At sa San Juan, tulad din po, dahil napakaliit po ng aming lungsod, within the day. Usually, kahit manual, napoproklama na ang mga panalo. Pero dito sa ngayong automated, inabot pa ng magdamag, no? And siguro dahil na sa gutom, puyat at lahat, kung hindi pa ang aking inano na na sinabi bakit ayaw nyo pang magproklama, yung pala nung malaman-laman namin ay ang CF cards ay hawak lamang ng isang tao, no, na nandun lang nandun din sa crowd. Chairman Brillantes, for your information, and I'm sharing this with the COMELEC also, that I hopefully in the next elections this would not happen. Ang takot ka lang, Chairman Brillantes, mas mabuti pa yata nung manual dahil lahat po nakabantay, no? May representante ang opposition, may representante ang administrasyon, yung balota ay 3 ang susi na kinaalala. Dito pala kapag automated, isang election officer lamang, isang guro lamang ang may hawak ng CF cards. At yung pala ay nandun lamang, nung malaman-laman namin, pwede na pala magproklama. Kung bakit inabot ng kinabukasan pa, ano po kaya ang dahilan?
Problems is really not the automation, but people. Yung tao, yung may hawak, yung tao ho, yun ang may problema. Hindi ho yung makina, hindi ho yung PICOS. Kasi kung masusunod lahat yung rules namin, hindi ho magtatagal. Pag sinabi nyo mas maganda yung manual, sasabihin ko pareho rin ho siguro kayo doon kay Congressman Ortega's district. Sa San Juan, wala ho naman yata masyadong kalaban. Pero ako, nag-practice ng 25 years sa election, manual eh. Hindi ho natatapos sa election ng mga 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Ginugulo ho namin yan during the canvassing. Wala hong napoproclaim ng 2 araw, 3 araw, siguro San Juan, sa ano. Pero sa lahat ng hinaharapan namin, pag natatalo kami, hindi napoproclaim yung kalaban namin ng 2 buwan na.
Now, the reason I'm taking this up, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Brillantes, is that because of this, no, because of this automated counting, no, that this is possible, no. Before, at least may safeguard kami sa opposition, no, na at least alam namin yung mga balota ay bantay. Pero kung ito po ay nangyari dito po sa Metro Manila mismo, na pwede na palang iproklama, pwede na pala yung hawak-hawak na yung CF cards, kung ano man ang rason, hindi po natin alam dahil sinabi mo human intervention yan. The reason why the automated election was accepted because of lesser intervention, no? Ang akala ng taong bayan, ang pagkakaalam natin, because of lesser intervention, it may be clean, it is cleaner, na wala pong halong impluensya. Pero kung ganito po ay nangyari po dito sa NCR, much more that it can happen in the remote provinces, in the remote areas. So I'm just bringing this up, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Brillantes, so that the COMELEC would know that this is possible, no, na pwede palang yung CF cards dahil wala na hong nagbabantay. Buti nga, no, sabi ko kanina, ang opposition, ang administrasyon ay nakabantay ang COMELEC, no, sa isang balota. Pero dito po ang may hawak ng mga CF cards ay pwedeng isang tao lamang. Ano po ang aming pong assurance sa opposition halimbawa o kahit na kanino na wala pong switching na magaganap, no? Kaya ako ito'y inilalabas po namin for your info, and I hope that you will do something with this so that for all the candidates peace of mind, no, that this would not happen again.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We will consider that, Mr. Chairman. In fact, we've considered that already long before. Hindi ho naman talaga ito ang general rule. What the distinguished Senator from San Juan is saying is that this is not the general rule. Our experience shows that if we will go over the records in Metro Manila, tignan ho natin ang record ng election starting 1987, 88, 92, 95, kwan. Wala ho na po proclaim dito sa Metro Manila in about 1 week, 2 weeks. Yun ho ang normal nung manual. Pero ngayon ho, tignan nyo nung 2010 at saka 2013, mga 2 araw, 1 araw. Yung 1 araw nga sobra na, 2 araw malas na ho kayo. Kung nakuha nyo ng 3 araw, medyo swerte na. Lahat ho natutuwa Pero there were exceptions because we cannot control all the individuals while we can control the machine, because the machine is really controllable. Yung tao, hindi ho namin kaya na lahat yun. May vote buying pa, meron pang takutan, meron pang kanya may hahawak na teacher o may hahawak na ano. We cannot, all of these are, well, I'm not saying small items, but I'm saying is that this is not the general rule. It happens every now and then in specific areas. So it's very difficult for us to make one general conclusion that because in San Juan you will not proclaim immediately in one day that this is what can happen. It can happen. Actually, we will have to admit the machine, the system is not perfect, but it's definitely compared to manual. There is no way of choosing between manual and go back to manual or maintain the two automated systems that we have already experienced in 2 elections.
Precisely,
Anybody
Mr.
who
Chair.
advocates manual at this point
Precisely,
creating a
Mr.
big
Chairman
problem for
Brillantes.
this country.
Yes, precisely, Chairman Brillantes. That's how I'm bringing this up. Because as I've said, if this can happen here in Metro Manila, wherein all the media networks are present, all the more it can happen in the far-flung places. And not all, it will be a cause for concern, especially for candidates who have no watchers, for candidates who do not have, who do not belong to major political parties, talagang siyempre yung peace of mind na talagang yung boto nila mabibilang, siyempre dapat natin pong i-take into consideration. And likewise, Mr. Chair, before this is connected also with the canvassing. I remember that during the 2013, nung kinagabihan po, ang sabi ng PPCRV, mabagal ang transmission. Totoo ba ito? Naalala ko lang ho yun.
Hindi ho, napakabalis ng transmission, kaya lang biglang tumigil pagdating nung certain percentage ng 76%.
Kasi
napakabilis ho sa una. Kaya lang tumigil ho yung transparency later.
So, ang na-transmit nung gabi ng May 14, parang mga 5% pa lang ata, no?
O, nung first day siguro.
First day. Yun na, tinatanong ko
Pero
lang po, para for the record, Mr. Chair.
Napakabilis ho ng transmission.
Mabilis ang transmission, pero
natigil lang.
Bumabagal.
Hindi, natigil lang. Kaya humina na din part. Para lang hindi ho ito kasi the transparency is the unofficial count. Para ho ito yung nung natatandaan nyo yung Operation Quick Count ng NAMPREL noon. Mabilis din yan. Mas mabilis yan kaysa doon sa official count. Palaging nahuhuli yung official count. Yung NAMPREL, mabilis yan. Yung kanilang quick count.
Mabilis ka ho yan.
Pero mabilis yung quick count, hindi natatapos yan maski kailan. Never natatapos, aside from the fact that it is unofficial. The official one is the one being monitored. It comes in late. Kasi mabagal ho ang proseso. Ladderized ho ang sistema. Even in the automated, which we copied the manual system, it still goes into the ladderized system of official counting. It goes to the MBOC, it jumps to the PBOC, and then it comes to the national canvassing. So may proseso ho yan. Yun, transparency server, unofficial ho yun, from the PICOS machine. It transmits directly to the server dito sa Manila. Galing ho Tawi-Tawi, galing sa Batanes. Dumidiretso rito. Mabilis ho yun. Kaya lang, kumisa napuputol na because of transmission problems. Pero unofficial naman yun. Yung official count, which goes to the MBOC, tuloy-tuloy lang ho yun. Mas mabilis ho ng malayo.
Naintindihan po natin, Chairman, talaga mas mabilis naman yung lagi, no? Usually, mas mabilis ang quick count. Whether sa NAMPREL noon at PPCRD.
Siguro may dagdag ko lang kasi ang nagiging issue natin dito is the issue of transparency. Sinasabi natin, pag manual nakikita ang bilangan. Ang tanong ko, kayo ba bumabalik kayo sa presinto nyo during the counting at titignan nyo kung binilang yung balota nyo?
Hindi nga ho.
Hindi ho.
Kaya nga binibring up ko ngayon,
nagbabantay
Chairman.
ho yung mga watcher, tinitignan ba nila yung election return na ba nilalagay yung tara?
Kaya
Di
nga
ba
ho,
may
Chairman,
watcher lang nakakakita?
binibring up ko lang po ito para sa kaalaman ng COMELEC, para sa mga susunod na halalan, ay hindi na maulit yung gano'n na pwede na pala iproklama dahilan na sa human decision or action, nandun hawak na pala nila, bakit hindi pa ho nila ibinibigay? Kung ano po ang rason, di ho ba? Kaya lang, para sa kalaman nyo, kaya ho lang inilalabas
Mr. Chairman, I will just say this.
For your information
It will very be difficult for us to guarantee that we can do this all over and we will have a perfect election. But we will try to minimize this to the least. Kung pwede lang. Hindi ho po pwede natin mabantay ang lahat. Meron ho mga tao dyan na gagawin na hindi maganda. Pero hindi, wag lang ho natin i-attribute it to the machine. Tao ho talaga yan. Kaya nga ho ang problema tao. If we go back to manual, hindi lang ho makakagulo ang counting, makakagulo ang canvassing, makakagulo ang paglalagay ng tara. Gulo lahat yan. Ang daming manifest error, nakakagulo sa canvassing, makahanap buhay na naman kami ng malaki dahil nakikipag-away kami ron. Hindi na ho nangyayari ngayon yan. Ang bilis ng results. Before you wake up, most of the mayors in Manila have already been proclaimed the next day.
Chairman, baka sa instructions to the members of the BEI. Kasi
Tama ho yan.
ang sabi pala ni Senator JB, andun lang yung tao daw, hawak-hawak niya yung safeguard. Hindi niya binuluntin na sa akin yung kulang. So, it's not really directly sa automated election system, but sa instructions natin, because there's only one person holding the envelope. It's in an envelope, right? Yung safeguard, it's in an envelope.
Your Honor, the procedure is the CF card prior to elections is shipped to the precinct itself, the polling place, no? Tapos it's only after use that the BEI will surrender it to the reception and custody group, which is with the board of canvassers.
In the municipal level.
In the municipal or city level. Kaya masabi nyo, may isang tao may hawak ng lahat ng CF card, yun na yung tapos na po at tina-turn over nila. Yun yung main CF card. No, but but prior to elections, lahat na CF card po nakaship siya kasama sa machine.
No, itong case yata sa San Juan is connected with a failure to transmit. That's why it was brought manually to the canvassing at hindi ma-proclaim, hindi mabuo yung count, hindi sinasabi ng tao, hawak ko na yung kulang.
Yun po, manual upload ang tawag po namin dyan.
Oo nga, so maybe, just a reminder or clarification in the instructions to the BI. Mukhang ganun. Mr. Chairman, before we leave this matter of digital lines, no, I will connect it to the threshold. Kasi it may be connected with the threshold because a line has a thickness, then threshold is the instruction you give to the machine to count or not to count. In 2010, what was the threshold in the shading? And in 2013, I believe you lowered it.
That's correct. 50, noong 2010, 50.
Okay.
Noong 2013, 20%.
Okay. Now, given that digital lines are possibilities in a PCOS system, whether new or old, will you review the threshold?
We've already lowered it to 20%.
Yeah, will you review the 20%, increase it? Kasi to minimize now this the rewards or the unexpected gift of a vote from a digital line.
Tama ho yun. Because of this, probably we'll have to review it again. Remember, in 2013, we used 50. Kaya lang ho, we finally decided in lowering it kasi nagkakaroon ng problema dun sa intent of the voter. Kung minsan hindi nakukuha yung 50%, nasasayang. Pagdating ng revision of ballots, kitang-kita mo naman yun ang binoboto, kaya lang hindi na shade ng 50. Natatanggal yung boto. So we lowered it to 20. Plus the fact that it lessens rejections. No? Mababa na ang thresholding Pero ngayon, because of this digital line and the possibility, as I've said, despite the fact na binabana namin sa 20, dapat yan mas maapektuhan yan kung may linya. Pero hindi ho naman ganun karami. Konti rin ho.
I will leave that for the commission to decide. But I'm just bringing it up.
May debate na ho kami dyan.
Apa.
Actually, we will leave it to the new commissioners and the steering committee. Sila na ho yan. Ako ho, akin, hindi na ako interesado masyado kung 30, 20, 10, 5, o 50 o 90. Basta ako, ang opinion ko is I think 20 is okay. But if you go out to 25 or to 430, baka pwede pa rin. Pero we can control the thresholding by resolution lang.
Yes, sir. And I will ask the CAC and the members of the CAC about your assessment of the AES elections. But nabanggit na po natin yung failure to transmit by the precincts, and that's an integral, yung transmission is an integral part of our AES system, hindi po ba? Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And I think 23%, close to 24% of the clustered precincts which functioned failed to transmit in 2013. And sir, tama?
Failed to transmit to the transparency server. Liwanagin ho natin, no?
But did this also fail to transmit to the municipal canvassing server?
It's about 19%.
Mas mababa ho dun sa...
Okay, 19 sa municipal.
MPOC.
But, okay, do you think that 19% is also a big number?
It's correct.
Yes,
It's a big number, but you see yung hindi ho nasosolve namin ang problema sa MBOC is na itatakbo mo nga yung CF card dahil malapit lang. Hindi mo pwede itakbo yung CF card sa tawi-tawi dito sa
Yes, sir.
PPCRP.
Chairman, ang pagtakbo, ang pag-manually deliver ng CF card is Plan B. May Plan A. Kaya nga, may Plan A. But hindi ba natin tatanungin bakit yung Plan A, yung normal procedure, ay sumama pa noong 2013? Tama ba? Mas malaki ba yung failure to transmit sa 2013 compared to 2010? Mas lumaki. Ang tanong, bakit na-pinpoint na ba natin para if ever PCOS tayo and then wireless transmission of results pa rin, sana hindi more than 19% ang mag-fail because as time passes by, technology improves, so better cell sites are being built.
This has been the subject of long discussions among the members. Kasi yung transmission dapat ang talagang kwan. Diyan nga kami palagi nagkakaroon ng problema eh. Because hindi ho naman namin kontrolado yan. Mga telecoms, ulan, atmosphere, fortuitous event. Marami ho nangyayari. There are several factors affecting transmission. In this case, kagaya ho nung record namin sa ARM, napakaunti nang natatransmit. Kasi ho, umulan naapektuhan daw yun. Linagyan na namin ng mga beacons yan para mapadala pero naapektuhan pa rin. So you cannot, these are contingencies. So you cannot predict. In fact, meron nung maganda. Minamalas lang kami noong 2013 na mas marami ng konti. Pero hindi naman naapektuhan ng official count dahil nga na-upload mo at na-unload mo dun sa MBOC. Nababantayan. Of course, meron nung magsasabi na baka mapalitan yung safe card pag ay nagbibiro lang ko yung mga nagsasabi nun. Pag pinalitan mo yung safe card, hindi ho magkano maloload yun. Pero anyway, hindi ho, problema ho talaga ang transmission. In fact, this is what is being addressed now by the Commission on Elections.
Yung 19% ba which failed to transmit, concentrated sa certain areas?
Hindi ho.
Kalat sa bansa? Or concentrated
depende
po
sa
sila?
situations about isa. Sa ARM, medyo marami-rami dahil umulan nga. Na-anticipate mo naman kung saan ho ang walang signal, mahina ang signal, o hindi si signal. Pero hindi mo ma-anticipate kung lumakas ang ulan, masama ang atmosphere, masama. Marami hong kaya may contingency ngayon sa aming instructions. It's always there. So we know in advance, we can monitor na hindi na nagtatransmit ito. So bibigyan na namin instruction. I-upload mo na yan, dala mo na.
Can this committee get the the distribution of those 19% precincts which fail to transmit?
Yeah,
tingnan namin if we can come up with our own conclusions kung suspiciously concentrated ba sa certain areas.
Sige, yes.
Kasi
because that's the first thing that we look at. Yung concentration sa isang lugar, tinitignan
because when it fails to transmit, the protocol is you manually bring the CF card. So, let's go back to the CF card. The CF card is a generic CF card.
Yung main CF card can be generic.
Yes, the one you bring.
Yes.
There are two cards.
Yes.
The instruction is you bring one. You leave one sa yung backup, you leave it sa machine.
Yes.
So the one you bring, the one the BI brings to the municipal canvassing because of failure to transmit is a generic CF card.
It can be a generic CF card.
No, what did you bid for? What did you?
It was generic.
What were you supplied?
It was
generic, no? Okay. So what is now the safeguard? Let's say mabilis yung kamay na mapalitan ng generic. Pagdating sa municipal board,
Your Honor, the results contained in that card will be encrypted. There is a certain encryption that's read by the machine. And also, the machine of the Board of Canvassers is also configured to read that encryption. So if you switch it with a different encryption or different data, hindi mababasa din ng Board of Canvassers, hindi mababasa sa lumang PCOS. No?
But the software to generate the data and save the data is
in Kabuyao.
That software is can easily be written, generated, tapos encrypted lang yung data. Yun lang ba yung safeguard, or even that software
It can
is
only be generated by
proprietary?
the EMS, Your Honor. Election Management System.
Okay. So that is the safeguard. And
Yes,
that is
Your Honor.
safeguard. Okay, so Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we just wanted to add, bago ho mag-transmit yan, you already print the first 8 copies, yung hard copy. Meron ho hard copy yan, yung election returns. Di ba? So when you transmit it, ayaw mag-transmit. Nandun na yung hard copy, pwede pa i-upload yung yung safeguard. So, meron ng hard copy na 8.
Pinapa-commit na muna. I-commit na.
Ganun ho ang rule
I-print ang 8,
you
yun yung
have to print
transmit.
the 8, you transmit, and then print the remaining 22. So that statement that says that when you transmit the safeguard, na pwedeng palitan yan, ano lang ho yun, good for media lang ho yun, pero yung nagsasabi ng mga ganun, hindi ho nila naintindihan ang nangyayari.
Congressman Erice.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning po. I was a participant to 9 elections. I won 5, I lost 4. 7 manual, 2 automated. Ang masasabi ko po, yung sa automated, life is much more easier, faster, and peaceful. Kaya po yung backsliding to manual, palagay ko po, napakasamang senaryo. However, may nakita ko po akong ilang mga technologies. I happen to saw some technology presented during your roadshow. Nakita ko po meron pong mga other options. Why can't we explore some other advanced technologies? Palagay ko hindi naman masyadong problema ang funding. Palagay ko po makukumbinsi naman ng Kongreso ang executive branch of the government to
even allow cross-border.
We will get to that topic in the for their preparations sa 2016.
Thank you.
Nasa
Thank you.
agenda po yan. Okay, so before we
Chairman?
hear our other resource person, Senator J.B. Ercito has a question.
Yes, before we move on, kasi nandun na rin na tayo, Mr. Chairman, sa topic ng 2013 elections and automated elections. In the last hearing, Mr. Chairman, I happened to be here, but I was in the room, but I was monitoring and I was listening to the hearing, wherein Chairman Brillantes and the other COMELEC commissioners were present. Ang naalala ko lang, Chairman Brillantes, ang nabanggit nyo na hindi nyo na i-recommenda. No? I even have a news clipping here na sinabi nyo na hindi nyo na i-recommenda kung sino man ang hahalili sa inyo ang PCOS machines. No? Hindi nyo ba, naalala nyo pa ba yun?
Sinabing hindi ko i-recommenda. Sinasabi ko lang between a new and an old. Siyempre, mas gusto natin yung bago.
Kasi ito, meron akong, ito, hawak ko ngayon.
O sige, ano sinabi ko?
Brillantes, replace PCOS machines for 2016 polls. So, pinapa-replace nyo na sa 2016.
Pero it should not be misinterpreted. No? Replace the PCOS machine. What are we referring to? The old, the existing ones? Kasi pwede ho i-refurbish yan, pwede i-upgrade, pwedeng ayusin, pwedeng... Depende ho. Kasi sinasabi ko ho yan, kasi kung ako ho papipiliin, which is ako papipiliin, siyempre ho, bago ang gusto ko. Pero kung ako ho bumili, kami ho ang bumili noong 2012 yung ginamit natin noong 2013. Wala ho ko nakitang problema. Pero dahil sa sinasabi natin, kung bibigyan tayo ng pera, ba't hindi tayo gumamit ng bago? Di ba? Kung may pera.
Hindi mo, Chairman, nililinaw ko lang kasi naalala ko lang ho na chinare po ni Senator Pimentel. Nagulat kasi ako, sabi ko ba, medyo interesting yun na hindi nyo na sinabi nyo, na hindi nyo na i-recommenda kung kayo po ay bababa na sa hanggang 2015, kung sino man ang papansin nyo, sinabi nyo kasi clearly na hindi nyo na i-recommenda muli ang PCOS machine. Ito yung exact version. I'm not going to recommend PCOS anymore. Apo. Yun lang po, inaano ko lang ho.
Kasi if you will read that, it means that if you will not recommend PCOS is generic, no? Hindi ho yan yung Smartmatic PCOS. PICOS is generic, which means if we will not use PICOS, then we will have to use the DRE, which is the other one,
Other technology.
which we cannot do.
So who will be Chairman, sino ho who will handle the 2016 elections? Meron na ho ba? Is it Smartmatic again?
Wala pa ho.
Wala pa ho.
Tinitignan lang namin yung rekomendasyon ng CAC at nandyan na rin naman ho, siguro pag-aaralan na namin.
Ano pa ho bang before we move on, at least we would know, kanina nabanggit nyo yung line, yung pagbasa, yung mga and other glitches. Ano pa ho bang ibang problema and other glitches that you encountered so that this joint committee would be informed, so that if we convene again and discuss about the upcoming 2016 elections, we would be already well informed. Ano po ho ba ang iba pang maingkwento nyo problema sa
Chairman, yun na nga ho sinasabi ko kanina pa umpisa. Wala ho kaming problema sa makina. Ang problema ho natin yung human intervention. Ibig sabihin, kaya nga gusto ko lang sabihin, in 2012 when we exercised the option to purchase the PICOS machine, Smartmatic PICOS machine, which we used in 2010, ang sinabi ko doon, pwede pang gamitin yan, maski 2-3 beses after the 2013. That's why I'm surprised that I said I will not recommend the PICOS machine anymore for 2016.
Sir Chairman, hindi ho ako nagsabi dyan. Kayo po nagsabi.
Nasabi ko yun, baka naman. Ang sinasabi ko nga ho before that, kinokompronta nga ako ngayon. Ba't mo sinabing pwedeng gamitin na 3 beses o 4 na beses after the 2013? Tapos sinabi mo, ayaw mo na yung PICOS ngayon. Ayaw ko na yung PICOS kung meron tayong pera na bako ang ipapalit.
Okay.
Pero PICOS pa rin. Ibig sabihin, OMR pa rin.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, as we go on, Mr. Chair, Chairman Brillantes, just like to, Mr. Chair, just like to clarify that we are asking questions so that, for a fact that the vote for every Filipino is very sacred, especially in a presidential elections. The upcoming 2016 is very important. Sagrado po ang boto ng bawat Pilipino. We want to make sure that the COMELEC would not have that burden, yung namadala pa niya yung may mga glitches. Kaya wag ko kayo magagalit pag tinatanong, Chairman. Para napipigil kayo kagad
We have exactly the same intention at mas malaki pa nga ho nakataya sa amin. Dahil kami ho nagpapatakbo.
That's why, just reminding you, Chairman Brillantes, that the vote of every Filipino is very sacred, especially in the presidential elections. Never mind the 2013. Now we have to move on for that. But we want to make sure that the glitches, all the problems that were encountered during the 2013 elections would not happen in the 2016 because this is a presidential election. As I've said, and I would want to emphasize that the vote for a presidential election is very sacred for every Filipino.
Thank you, exactly what we want. Just for the record, that's exactly what we want.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned earlier if we replace all machines with new ones, OMR pala technology to. This is what you call OMR. The PICOS is under
PICOS is OMR.
OMR. Okay, OMR technology. 86,100 units. We will be needing 12.9 billion pesos. That was stated earlier. Tama?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then you said that if we combine old and new, it will be 6.9 billion pesos. So my question is, ano yung combination? How many of the old and how many new? Yung magiging 6.9 billion pesos.
Mga 80,000 po yung old, tapos 6,000 yung new. At 1,000 per precinct.
Okay. So you're practically reusing what you bought. Kasi 80,000 more or less yung machines nyo, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many machines did you actually buy in total? 85?
81,000.
81?
More than 81,000.
More than 81,000. Okay. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's hear from the COMELEC Advisory Council, incumbent members and or former members. My question is, did you also, as a group or individually, assess or review the conduct of the automated election systems, and do you have opinions or conclusions which you want to share with this committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe, sir, that the individual members made their individual efforts, but the council as a group did do an assessment. However, we failed to come up with a general sweeping conclusion as to the how effective the election was. No? We did concentrate on the individual anomalies that we found. No? Particularly, well, we started with the random manual audit. No? Eventually, as mentioned a while ago, we found that first of all that the random manual audit there's a big gap, sir, in the understanding of the 99.997 requirement and the purpose of the RMA. No?
99.97 is the result. The requirement is 99.995.
Yes. There's a general misunderstanding on that matter. No? Furthermore, that the design or the specification required of the RMA does not really meet the requirements necessary to make a conclusion as to the accuracy of the system itself. No? However, the exercise is very. We found that the exercise is very important, especially since it allowed us to find those digital lines, the digital line problem. No, that was further examined, and yes, after an exhaustive investigation into the matter, it was found that it was a technical oversight. No? That could have actually been remedied had there was a recommendation or there was discussion, sir, of a requirement to improve the testing prior to the use of the machines. No? The PCOS itself contains diagnostics, but it does not have diagnostics for the sensor, no? Which is the root cause of the digital lines. We also take note of the problems with transmission, no? Which are addressed. Actually, the report, sir, contains 12 general recommendations with many sub-recommendations for each of them. No? I'll just touch on a few of them. We find the need to improve the transmission, as you mentioned, sir. There should be measures taken to address the transparency server issues. We also feel that we should the source code review could have been done a lot better, no? And the current council has already taken steps in that direction. And well, to a lesser degree, sir, this is a very technical project. No? In fact, the council recommends that it be treated as an IT project, no? Subjected to full transparency as well as what we would normally use when evaluating the success of say, an e-government system. No? Having said that, we recommend, well, we do recommend that the COMELEC take on additional online full-time technical personnel to help them manage the technical side, the technology side of the election. No? We commend the COMELEC for taking steps, sir. However, we feel that government is not really well suited when it comes to very technical matters. No? So it would be better if they employed a third party, no, independent of all the vendors, to assist them from a day-to-day on the very technical matters. Yes, sir.
May we hear from who else? How about the former members of the COMELEC Advisory Council? They have because you once upon a time played this role of assessing the AES. Just in case, sir, if you have something to share with this. Yes, sir, Mr. Quevedo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As a former member of the Advisory Council, I'd just like to point out for the COMELEC that it is not only speed that is the primary purpose of the automated election law. Transparency and accuracy are also primordial concerns of the automated election law. We have been enamored and fascinated by this speed in such a way that transparency and accuracy might have been compromised. Another issue is the mention of transmission. This matter has not been validated with the telcos. We keep on blaming the transmission, but actually we have not really confirmed that there was a failure of transmission with the telcos. In fact, I used to be with the telco. I have already retired from the telco, so I do not claim to speak for the telco at this moment. But the fact is that there has been no confirmation that there was a failure of the network in those particular areas. So while we say that there was a failure of transmission, we do not have trouble reports, and usually there should have been trouble reports, or this matter should have been coordinated with the telcos. I do not know if we are now right now even trying to remedy the situation other than saying that there was a failure of transmission. But as I repeat, this matter has not really been confirmed with the telcos, this failure of transmission.
Ma'am De La Paz, Bernardo.
Mr. Chairman, I can confirm what my colleague has just said because I sit in the audit committee of one of the telcos. And when I asked that question about the transmission problems in the 2013 elections, they really deny that it's because of failure from the telco side. So I said, why are they always talking about it that way? He said, well, I don't know. And I think really there should be a deeper review of what really happened, because the telco company that where he worked is the same group that I'm connected with. So I'm concerned that this issue be addressed before the 2016 elections. I would also want to report, because there are a lot of details in the reports that we have submitted to the COMELEC, and I don't know if your joint congressional committee has been furnished this, but we submitted our report to the COMELEC in connection with the random manual audit, and there are details of recommendations and observations. This is a SNAMFREL. And another one where we submitted various findings by our own volunteer workers, and we summarized them and submitted to the COMELEC because we are one of the election arms of the COMELEC. These are dated as of August 12, 2013, and another one for July 5, 2013. We made these recommendations to ensure that the forthcoming elections will be better handled. And the question of whether we should proceed and use whatever machine needs to be done should still be looked into. Yeah. Thank you.
Chairman?
I just wanted to re-up. Statement coming from they said that our concern is speed. That's not true. Our main concern is accuracy. That's the main concern. Speed is not. Speed is the questions being asked. It was fast in La Union. It was slow. But that's not our main concern. Our main concern has always been accuracy. And that's why we're asking all the people, show us some inaccurate results. Where are the inaccurate results? And we will test it. We will see if it is accurate or not. As far as we're concerned, results are accurate. And the speed is there to accompany the accuracy. The rest, transmission. We have never said telecom is at fault. We're saying telecom could be part of the factors that affected transmission, but we're not saying it's all fault of the telecom. They are part of the problem. They are part of the problem. Problem like fortuitous event, rain, so many things, people, human intervention, fault, mistakes in the instruction. So many factors involve transmission. We're not saying telecom.
Once the committee gets the breakdown of the areas affected by the
That's correct,
transmission
Your Honor.
problems,
And that
we
is
will write the telcos for their comments also,
the
and then
only-
invite them in the next hearing for their
Mr.
reaction.
Chairman, I just wanted to clarify one
Yes,
point.
sir.
We sit down at the commission elections every day. The steering committee sits down every week. And bank sits down every week. And every day we sit down on committees on all of these details. Apparently, when we sit down here in this August body, we discuss generalities. All that we ask is, we want transparency. Where is the transparency in what we're doing? If you want transparency, anybody who wants transparency, I will invite them to sit down with us every day and see what we're doing every day.
And Chairman, you're submitting reports, and then we will be holding regular committee hearings of this joint Congressional Oversight Committee, and this will make everything transparent because we will be asking for periodic reports from the COMELEC. The representatives of the people will hear your report, stakeholders will hear your report, the media will bring your report to the people, so we will all know. And before we end this hearing, we will listen to the COMELEC for your timetable. What have you been doing? What timetable what calendar will you follow for the 2016
That is
elections?
correct.
May I go back to the sandali lang, former Congressman Chong, no? Yusek Casambre, you're chairman of the CAC. Can you briefly inform this representation of the duties and functions of the advisory council? Because I want to see if we have an overlap with this joint Congressional Oversight Committee. Are you to provide proposals for the AES technology to be used in future elections?
Mr. Chairman? The functions of the CAC under RA 9369 R1 recommend the most appropriate, secure, applicable, and cost-effective technology to be applied in the AES in whole or part at that specific point in time. So we make a technology recommendation. Participate as a non-voting member in the back of the AES, but excluding the members from the ICT professional organizations. Participate as a non-voting member in the steering committee of the COMELEC tasked with the implementation of the AES. Provide advice and assistance in the review of the system planning, inception, development. Basically, advisor po ng COMELEC. Provide advice and assistance in the identification, assessment, and resolution of system problems and inadequacies, as we did with the RMA issue. Provide advice and assistance in the risk management of the AES, and prepare a submitted report. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you are also to study AES technologies and make proposals. I see an overlap doon tayo because my understanding is that this joint congressional committee can also provide for proposals as to the kind of the AES technology. But you have some executive functions. Okay lang yan because you're really executive, unlike the legislative, no? So this is the purpose of our hearings. Now we assess 2010, 2013, and find out if the particular AES technology should no longer be utilized. How can an enhancement or improvement be given? So we are all in this together, no? How to improve our election system. Okay, so Congressman Chong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to politely refute the initial statements of Chairman Brillantes regarding the 2010 and 2013 protests. The protest I filed with the HR 18 2010 was divided into two main causes of action. The first one is with manual cheating, which I presented before HR 80, and the other one, the automated portion, which I presented in the committees to do away with the rule on sub judice. And if you remember, Mr. Chair, then Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile, in a hearing on March 23, 2012, challenged all of us to prove that someone was sitting in public office by virtue of cheating and I wrote you a letter that I am taking up the Senate President's challenge. After a 30-minute discourse, pinasagot ho yung COMELEC. Ang sagot ho nila, can we answer that in executive session? Why does it have to be in an executive session when this is a public matter? Every person in this country has the right to know how their vote was counted, how the process of elections go by. However, Mr. Chair, with respect to the manual elections, very clear ho yung issue ko, sir. 4,528 voters voted after 7 o'clock. Under the rules on voting, dapat nakalagay yun sa minutes of voting. But there was none. So I manually identified every ballot. When you cast them out, I should have won. But never mind. I'm not interested to sit in public office. I'm interested to defend the interest of every person in this country. Now, Mr. Chair, with respect to accuracy, I bring to your attention a decision.
Congressman, before you proceed, for clarity, you're referring to which election? 2013?
The 2010.
2010.
Yes, and this one's 2013, sir.
Okay, sige pa.
I refer to you civil case number 4378-13 of the Regional Trial Court in Gapan City, Nueva Ecija, Branch 34, for opening of ballots and manual counting of votes cast for Brother Eduardo Eddie Villanueva with prayer for preliminary injunction and TRO. The case was filed by Bernardo Aranas and Arlan Esteban versus the Municipal Election Registrar, MBOC, BEIs, and so forth. Let me quote the dispositive portion of the decision, Mr. Chair. It says here, this is 2013. Wherefore, premises considered, it is hereby declared that per manual counting of votes appearing in official ballots used in clustered precinct numbers 19, 29, and 30 in Barangays Pias and Concepcion, General Tino Nueva Ecija, candidate Eduardo Villanueva garnered a total of 900 votes as against the official COMELEC count of only 781 votes. In other words, binawasan ho si Brother Eddie ng 119 votes in 3 precincts, or an average of something like 37.8 something. The order was dated March 21, 2014, signed by Judge Celso O. Baguio. We have here a certified true copy of that decision, which has attained finality by virtue of the fact that the COMELEC, most notably, did not file a motion for reconsideration, neither did they appeal the decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just for the record, former Congressman Chong, what happened to your 2010 election protest? But that was for Congressman? So
yes, sir.
HRET.
HRET. The question is merely on the manual side of the voting.
So can you share, not in writing na lang, can you share in writing with this committee the insights that you got regarding the automated election system?
Yes,
as far as your protest is concerned. Yung weaknesses niya ba? You just write to us.
Yes, sir. But with respect to the case in the HRET, it's purely on the issue of manual cheating. The unlawful extension and the unlawful voting of numbers of voters which were not accounted for.
Pero alam ko you gave us a report,
yes,
which
sir, but
I would like you to pursue yung
multiple transmission.
Yeah, multiple transmissions. Okay,
yes.
So because it's too technical, but can you give us a written report explaining what you discovered?
Sir.
Okay,
yes, sir. And also the additional votes that we discovered, 4,114 ballots in 166 precincts a few days before the elections. And I can point to these ballots, Your Honor.
Sige. Please, just in writing so we can proceed with this hearing.
No, I have nothing against Chairman Brillante, sir. Yeah. We have to protect the interest of this country. It's only by clean and honest elections that the people will have that last leverage against public officials that may be abusive. And finally, Mr. Chair, if I may add, I would like to take that challenge of Chairman Brillantes to be there in the COMELEC and give me access to their workings. I would love to be present there. I'll donate my time to the Republic and to the people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's good. And also, all of those with issues and allegations of fraud under the automated election system can run to this committee and give us evidence, give us reports and evidence, and we will take a look at what you give us. Even yung case ni Brother Eddie, no, not really his case, but his votes, no, filed by some of his supporters, we will take a look into that because 119 vote discrepancy
in three precincts.
So around 40 40 vote discrepancies per precinct, which is not acceptable given the published accuracy of 99.995%. Former Commissioner Lagman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to put things in their right perspective, and I'd like to do this by posing a question. Why should the COMELEC, in fact, why should the government spend billions of pesos to shorten the election process by a mere half day? What really shortened the process from some 6 weeks down to about a week is the canvassing, the automation of the canvassing. The automation of the canvassing only uses PCs, laptops, servers. PCOS only contributed half a day. And I can show you, I have a full presentation on that. In the process, transparency was compromised. And in fact, for that reason, many countries in Europe, even in the United States, have reverted to the manual system of counting at the precincts. Okay. But the other thing that is also very important, it's not only the loss of transparency, is the impairment of the protest process. I believe that there would have been a lot more protests if the candidates could only get enough evidences. But the problem is they don't know. It's not like in the past where they can get affidavits that some anomaly happened at the precincts. There are watchers. There were watchers, and they can also give affidavits. They have, election returns, copies of the election returns that were produced while they were watching. When you automate the precinct counting, transparency is lost, and the protest process is impaired. You don't know. There are many who would like to protest, but they can't get hold of data. There is no trusted document that they can use. The ballots are there, but those can only be opened when there is a protest. So it's a chicken and egg problem. I can't open that so that I can protest, but I need it so that I can protest. So it's the problem is that, and this is a very common problem, systems people design systems to solve a problem. Technologies are used by systems people. It's a tool that systems people can use. But systems people would always ask, why do we need to use that? Or which tool should we use? And, well, naturally, technologies usually would fall in love with technologies, new tools. But the systems people would always question, why do we need that? What are the, there's always a cost-benefit study. We spent billions in 2010 and 2013, and all it did was cut down the process, the election process, by half a day. It's the canvassing, which uses only PCs, servers, and laptops, that cut it down from some 6 weeks to 1 week. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Commissioner Lagman, we will give you time in some future hearing, but soon, to present your proposal to this committee, because it's one of the powers of this committee to propose or to give COMELEC some proposals on possible AES technologies to adopt. And that's the same with the COMELEC, that's our overlap, right? The COMELEC Advisory Committee, Mr. Chairman of the CEC, you also study technologies and you also advise, and we're just advice, but actually it's just it's also a proposal or advice for the COMELEC to consider technologies. For the record, Yusek Casambre, yun yung medyo may overlap tayo ron.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. But we are all agreed that the power, the ultimate authority which will exercise the power to decide, to choose the actual AES technology to be used in elections is with Yusek Casambre,
with the COMELEC.
And also my reading, it's also with COMELEC. So we will welcome presentations here so that members of the JCOC can discuss, come up with an opinion, and if we have a consensus on a proposal, we will give it to the COMELEC. But we really ask transparency from the COMELEC and for you to also choose wisely, decide wisely, kasi the ultimate power is with the my reading of the law and the Constitution, the ultimate power and authority in choosing the technology is the COMELEC. Composed of ilang commissioners kayo, Commissioner Gia? 7?
6 plus the chair.
6 plus the chair, and then 3 will be retiring soon.
Will be retiring on February 2, 2015.
Tatlo po.
3 of them,
Tatlo,
including the chair.
Apo. Can I go back to the billions of pesos to be spent? 6.9 billion pesos combination of old and new. 80,000 old, 6,000 new. But the 80,000 old have already been purchased. So bakit malaki po yung 6.9 billion?
The major factor will be the services components, Your Honor, like the ballot printing, the ballot box, the
okay.
transmission.
So can I also ask the itemization of the kasi tama unfair actually to say na 6.9 billion purchase of hindi naman pala all purchase yun. So
yes, we will
I need to see the
breakdown
and also the purchase.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kasi medyo alarming po yan. Congressman Basaga.
Just one point, Mr. Chairman. Well, the information provided is that we will be purchasing 80,000 new PICOS machine. The cost would be 13 million, approximately 13 billion.
New PICOS.
Yes. And considering that this would be new PICOS, then naturally, we have again to invest in the training of those who will be manning these machines.
Yes, Your Honor.
So more or less, how much would be the cost for the training?
No, the training will be more or less the same, Your Honor. As in fact, in 2013, we spent about almost $1 billion, mga 800 to 900 million for the training of the BEIs. It will still be the same, but in terms of competency of the BEI, that is another matter. Because if they're used to using the PICOS already, you will still provide them the same training, but in terms of really acting out on actual election day, of course, there is familiarity if they use the old PICOS.
So the 1 billion additional expense for the training does not necessarily guarantee that those who will be trained will be competent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Another thing, we are preparing for the 2016 elections. And as I've mentioned earlier by the Chairman Brillantes and 2 commissioners, Commissioner Tagle and Yusuf, would be retiring in February 2015. How will it affect your preparation? Because a while ago you mentioned that the financial consultant, etc., has just recently retired. So, do you have the assurances
Chairman,
that preparations are being made also?
We don't really have much of a problem because as soon as we finish with the May 2013 elections and the October barangay elections, in November of 2013, we started already the preparations for the 2016 elections, meaning that we created the steering committee headed by Commissioner Christian Robert Lim, because he will be the senior commissioner when the 3 of us retire, myself, Commissioner Yusuf, and Commissioner Tagle. So he will be the senior commissioner who was with us during the entire 2013 elections. We were appointed practically at the same time. I will retire earlier than he is because I only serve for the unexpired term. Since then, we have been meeting regularly, as I've said. The steering committee has been meeting weekly. Now they're meeting probably twice a week. The bank meets every week. We also meet in committees. All the senior staff meets regularly. In fact, our target is to finish all of these things before we retire. By the end of November or December, we should have finished we should have laid the groundwork for the entire 2016 elections. Because by that time, we should have been finished with the budget. We intend to finish the budget by August 27 here and September 7 in the House. We shall be going into the bidding if there will be public biddings required between October, November, up to December, probably by January. So I'm very comfortable in resigning, knowing that Commissioner Lim will be the head, the new chairman, or the head of the steering committee, the new chairman, and the 2 new commissioners can simply sit there and see the entire prepared groundwork. I think the 4 commissioners sitting down there, as member of the steering committee, they are the ones actually on the day-to-day activity of the preparations for 2016. Kami ho, hindi na kami masyadong umupo. Ako, I still sit there because we have to prepare for the budget and we have to prepare for hearings like this. But then, insofar as our preparation, wala na ho kaming problema. Talagang na-anticipate na namin that there will be a problem if we will not start early, as we did in fact start November of 2013. And we have completed so many things already. At this point in time, we have already projected the entire schedule up to E-Day, May 9, 2016. Meron na ho kaming schedule. Nakagawa na schedule. So everything is prepared for the 2016 elections. It's just that we're waiting for the money coming from the budget. If we are aware or we are given the necessary funding, we'll be able to run the elections smoothly. I think they will be able to run the elections smoothly. We will not be there anymore. If we go back manual, I will be able to practice again.
Just one legal clarification, that the commissioners have a fixed term. So much so that even if I believe personally that Commissioner Lim is qualified to be the chairman, he is prohibited to be appointed as chairman. Or no?
In the case of Villar versus recent case, you can be promoted to the position of chairman provided you do not exceed the 7-year term, Your Honor.
So, based on that decision, you are legally qualified.
Yes, but I do not want it, Your Honor.
But not in excess of these 7 years, taking into consideration the time that you were still a commissioner.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much for that information.
That Commissioner Lim become the chairman.
Ejercito.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I was outside. May mga interviews kanina. I found out that former Congressman Glenn Chong pointed out that there was a case that was filed. I don't know if are you familiar, Chairman Brillantes? That was filed in Gapan City in the RTC.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know if former Congressman Chong is aware of the details of that case, but we have all the details of this case. We have certified true copies. We have already submitted a report. I gave a copy of the letter which we addressed to Jarius Bundok, who exposed this in a column.
Yes, yes.
What I'm going to say by way of a short response only, there is no discrepancy of 100. The discrepancy in one precinct is over 100. The discrepancy in the two other precincts is about 7 and 7. 7 only and 7. 14 in two precincts, over 100 in one particular precinct. I've written a letter to Jarius Bundok, which we copy furnish everybody else. We're saying is that, well, I did not say here, but if that is correct, what they're claiming that there is the physical count made by the judge would prevail over the count of the PICOs, then I will resign as chairman even today. In fact, in my letter, I asked Jarius to witness. We're going to open and decrypt all of these ballots, and I will prove that there is a manipulation of the physical count. Because we've checked, we will try to check, and we are sure. The judge did not know how to physically count. The judge does not even know which are the authentic ballots. How can you make a revision in a civil case involving a senatorial votes? They don't have any jurisdiction, and they say we did not appeal. We don't have to appeal. We filed a motion to dismiss. We said the judge has no jurisdiction. This is a civil case. You cannot count 3 precincts and say Villanueva won the senatorial in 3 precincts in Gapan. Physical count of these 3 ballots we're willing to undertake, open it to the public, as I wrote Jarius Bundok, and we want them
but I think, Mr. Chair, sorry to cut you, but I don't think that was the intention. No? I think the case was filed by Bernardo Aralas and Arlan Esteban not really to protest the elections, because that's kasi Senate Electoral Tribunal ang merong jurisdiction diyan, but just to know the truth, no.
That's correct.
Ito po yung yung kanila pong sinasabi.
Now it is
And
blown.
there is, Chairman Brillantes, there is, paano ho natin masasagot na merong hong sa 3 cluster precincts, no, there is a discrepancy of about 119.
Oh, sasagutin ko na ho, although we
Sige po.
have not decrypted
Hindi,
yet.
kasi
I'm going to say, in 2 precincts where there are 7, I am sure that those who officially counted even the overvotes for Villanueva. Which means, if you voted for 13 or more senatorial, even if the Villanueva vote is shaded, those who counted it there counted it in favor of Villanueva. That's an overvote. It should not be counted, and the PICOs will not count that. So there will be a discrepancy. Second, what is big, as I've said, is the 100. 100. Chances are that, I've not seen it yet. I was about to decrypt all of this, but we are going to reserve this so that the public will see. When we decrypt this, my own feeling is that this precinct, where there are over 100 recovery by Villanueva, has been tampered. Physical ballots were tampered. We will see this in the decryption.
So, Chairman Brillantes, sa tingin nyo, this is just an isolated case na doon na
Sigurado
nangyari?
ho, sigurado ho. Wala pa nga hong isang presinto na nagsasabi na mali, ganyan magkakaroon ng discrepancy na 100.
No, because, Chairman, kahit na he was my co-candidate in 2013, no? But Brother Eddie Villanueva is already a household name with more than, yung kanya pong simbahan ay more than 36-year-old church, no? And the reason why his followers wanted to know the truth and seek the truth, parang hindi nila mapaniwala na number 19 na si Brother Eddie, when in fact when he ran for president, he got almost 2 to 3 million votes, if I'm not mistaken. Tama ho ba, no? So we are just pointing out this out, Mr. Chairman, so that you mentioned that there's no proof, no, of PICO's fraud, no, because marami ho nakarating din ho sa amin yung mga report na CIRC 60-30-10 at iba pa na nanggaling sa mga malalayong lugar, especially Mindanao, na hindi naman ho no political, there are no political backers, no, doon sa mga nag bring up ng mga 60-30-10. But then again, as I've mentioned, Chairman, again, wag ko kayo mapipikon dahil we are preparing for 2016, and we want to make sure, no, na talagang malinis yun.
Hindi ho, sino ho napipikon? Wala ho napipikon. Ako sinasabi ko lang ho, is let us not generalize. In 3 precincts in Capan, in a certain General Tino, Nueva Ecija, this is blown up in a column without any explanation on our side. Now we're coming, we have a complete letter addressed to everybody, and we'll open it up so we can prove na talaga hong merong mga misimpressions that there is some error in 3 precincts. Tapos sinasabi, eto na ebidensya na may fraud ang PICOs. We will show that this is not. We want everybody to come out, give us a precinct, and we will count this precinct, open it up to the public. Baski walang protesta. Pero doon sa magandang bilangan, hindi ho yung pabibilangin yung isang judge doon sa Kapan. Sasabihin niya, ganito, etong nanalo. We are sure na ginalaw. Kasi yung physical ballot, nagagalaw ho yan after elections. Ang tagal na. It's over a year since bakit hindi nagre-reklamo si Eddie Villanueva? Bakit siya hindi nagprotesta kung palagay niya na nanalo siya? Sana nabuksan natin lahat ito. Bakit siya nagre-reklamo ngayon tapos pupunta sa isang RTC judge, civil case pa ang pinasa ang final, tapos binuksan yung 3 presinto, sabi mali ang bilang. So may daya ang PICOs. Cannot make such conclusions.
Si Chairman Brillantes is correct in the legality, no? But I think the purpose was not really to win a senator, but just to find out the actual count in the 3. But, ang magandang development, Mr. Chairman, since you're willing to dig deeper into the matter and decrypt the scanned ballots for the 3 concerned precincts, and then we can ask for the physical ballots recounted by the RTC.
That's correct.
And then we can compare, tama?
Yes.
The good news is that the members of this committee are willing to supervise the digging deeper into this matter. So it will be made part of the agenda of the next JCOC AES
Very good,
hearing.
Your Honor. Very
we will
good.
do it here. So we will
Very
have
good.
just to coordinate.
Yes,
We
Your
prepare
Honor.
it.
And
We will also
invite Mr. Chong as our,
Mr. Chong,
as our watcher.
Our watchers, our staff, but ganito pong mangyari, the COMELEC will give a briefing to our staff and maybe the CAC rin, sama na po tayong lahat dito, on the proper way to count, to recount from your point of view. Okay po, yun po, from your point of view, how to recount.
May revision rules, so hindi naman pwede
opo.
in a civil case, bubuksan na lang basta yung mga balota, bibilangin, tapos sasabihin nila, oh, mali yung bilang ng PICOS. Wag naman ganun. Ayusin ho natin yung revision.
So the House panel confirms that we are interested in digging deeper
Since
into
we've
this
already
matter. Anyway,
communicated.
tatlong presinto lang po yan. Ano?
Ang
And,
imbitahin lang ho natin, sama na natin si Jarius Bundok.
Opo.
Kasi siya ho sumulat niyan.
Opo, pati si
Imbitahin
Judge
na rin
po.
natin si Judge.
Pati po si Judge. Opo.
Para matuturin ho siya kung paano magbilang.
Tignan po natin, ano? And then, a discrepancy kasi, let us say, nagkatotoo, a discrepancy of more than 100 is unacceptable. Actually, in my opinion, a discrepancy of 7 per precinct is also alarming.
That's
in my
correct.
opinion.
Yes. A discrepancy
That
of 1
is
or
alarming.
2 probably, Pero more than 5, delikado na ho yun. Ipaglalaban na namin na hindi tama yung physical count.
Mr. Chong, pero let's not debate on point of law.
Yeah. I'm not going to
Point of law, we're trying to prove, as we have already said long before, after the elections, I said, show us one precinct that will show discrepancy in the results. Let's check on it.
Yes, sir.
Not through a civil case, not through revisions of ballots by ordinary revisors.
Yes, sir.
We will do it here, Mr. Chairman.
Sige ho. Nandun na ho sa sulat ko yung kay Jarius na we're going to open it up to the public. Gusto ko makita ng lahat ng tao.
Dito na po, under the auspices of the JCOC.
Mr. Chair,
salamat po.
Can
Mr.
I
Chong,
add
yes,
a rejoinder?
Can you make it brief, Mr. Chong?
Because he's going to make me his watcher. First of all, Mr. Chair, Judge Celso Baguio is a former congressman, and I suppose he knows how to count the shades and the ovals, because it's so easy. As a matter of fact, they made a taras-taras of the count there. Here it is, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we need to divine the intention of the voter in a very technical
Congressman
matter.
Chong, we will do it. We will do it
yes,
here.
Sir.
So we will do it
Here's
here.
one more thing, sir. Since he's going to make me his watcher, I would also ask for immunity to present additional collaborative evidence to show that the votes actually did not count, and in this case, 3,600 particular votes were the discrepancies.
Saan ho?
Saan po yan?
Well, you give me first the immunity.
We
can present it as well.
We cannot
in the
give
count,
immunities.
Mr. Chair. Pag sinabi ko sa inyo kung saan galing yun, baka dudukturin din ninyo.
Congressman Chong, dito sa committee. Because
yes, sir.
Chairman, sa committee, because there's a process. I will have to.
What's the process?
We will need to discuss the process. The Senate President gives the immunity. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sige
I
po,
would ask for the minimum transactional
but,
immunity.
I need a briefing of the substance of what you're going to divulge.
Yes, sir.
Congressman Barsaga.
Well, I understand immunity should be given to those who are being accused of a crime, and they would be becoming a state witness in order that they would be afforded immunity. So my very good friend happens to be a lawyer. So what immunity does he want? Immunity from prosecution? No, we have to clarify things.
Yeah, to be clear,
because
immunity
the press
from
and the media might be confused.
Yes, immunity from prosecution. At the very least, transactional immunity.
Well, immunity from prosecution are being given to those persons who committed a crime. And because of their testimony, then they will be given immunity so that they will not be liable, and that is provided under the Witness Protection Act. Did you commit any offense?
Not necessarily myself, but I would just like to be safe, Your Honor.
Immunity for himself and for his witnesses.
For the actual person who did it.
Yeah, actual person. Okay, so Commissioner Lagman.
Yes, very brief.
Yes, sir. And then we will proceed to the timetable of the COMELEC. Yes.
My question, my earlier question is a very serious question. I just would like the body to ask the COMELEC for a response on why we are going to spend billions of pesos to shorten the process by a mere half day. That's a very serious question that I would like the JCOC to ask the COMELEC. Thank you.
Are you
We will
ready
respond
to
to it.
respond now? Sige
We
po.
will respond to it, Your Honor. This involves legal issues, and I do not know why IT people are the one discussing this. Anyway, we will respond to it.
Congressman, Senator J.B. Ercito wants to pursue before we go to your timetable.
Anyway,
the 60...
Mr. Chairman, Chairman Brillantes already in the House panel agreed that we would dig deeper. I move that I invite also the ones who reported about the 60-30-10.
We would be very happy to invite them also. So we will also present witnesses to show that the 60-30 is nothing else, really nothing.
Okay, that's good, Mr. Chairman. And likewise to Douse Cold Water on Chairman Brillantes, happy birthday po.
Happy
Namumula
birthday,
na kayo
So now I think it's time to proceed to, if you can hear the calendar of activities or timetable of the COMELEC in preparation for the 2016. Say, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yes, Your Honor, we prepared a presentation. Actually, it is a simple calendar-like presentation. PMO timeline. Your Honor, we will just skip the presentation on the like data on registration. We will skip that. We will just go to the heart of the presentation of the timelines for the automation. Your Honor, is that okay?
Then we will ask questions.
Okay. Mabasa. Mabasa ba? Meron dito. Okay, Your Honor. We'd like to start with the convening of the COMELEC Steering Committee. The COMELEC Steering Committee was convened in December of 2013. No? The membership of the Steering Committee now comprises of this representation as the chairman, Commissioner Al Pareño as the vice chairman, Commissioner Louis Tito Guia, and the latest commissioner is Commissioner Arthur Lim, who was also included as part of the Steering Committee. Now, in terms of determination of the technology to use, we put a timeline that we should start already working for it, starting March of 2014 up to August 26 of 2014. No, what are included? The convening of the COMELEC Advisory Council, which they did convene on March 27. The approval of the DBM of the submitted budget. Actually, the DBM has already submitted the NEP on July 29 to Congress. We are scheduled for a budget committee hearing before the Senate on August 26 and September 4 before the House of Representatives. The conduct of the CAC Technology Fair, which already occurred on from July 24 to 28 of 2014, and the submission of the CAC recommendation of the appropriate technology to use, which they did comply as of yesterday, Your Honor. Now, in the meantime, while we were waiting for the CAC to act, we had already started the preparations of the draft TOR. And in fact, we have already the very rough draft of a TOR. And we will now consider the recommendations of the CAC with the TOR, and hopefully in 2 weeks' time, submit the draft TOR to the CAC for their comments. So that will last also until the period of end of August, Your Honor. We have also scheduled, upon the adoption of the technology to use by the COMELEC, is the formation of the project management team, which will run the automated elections. Actually, I already have also a draft PMO concept for the. I'm just waiting for the decision of the NBank on what technology to use before we introduce the PMO.
Excuse me, Commissioner.
Yes,
that's where what I'm interested in. You have a deadline on when you will decide on what technology to use.
August 26, Your Honor.
Yan. August 26.
2014.
Ito. On what technology to use?
Yes, Your Honor. OMR, DRE, other. We already have the recommendation by the CAC.
Yeah, which you received yesterday.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, okay, 11.
By Wednesday next week, Your Honor, the CAC will present to the NBank the recommendation, answer also our questions, Your Honor. I have also requested the NBank to constitute a special NBank session next week, preferably on Wednesday or Thursday, so that we can already decide what to use.
Can you now tell us what is it allowed under the law for for you to reveal what was the recommended technology by the CAC?
Your Honor, we can present to you. There's no prohibition, but the COMELEC is not yet passing judgment on the recommendation of the CAC because we wanted to hear them out first on Wednesday before we decide on their recommendations, Your Honor. But it's available already, Your Honor.
So we are okay. So can we hear from the CAC?
Okay, yes, Your Honor.
Can you tell us what technology you are recommending?
Mr. Chair, of course, this is, as Commissioner Lim said, merely a recommendation to them. It's up to them to decide. We recommend that they seriously consider the use of multiple or mixed technologies to promote interoperability and encourage innovative solutions. Number two, reuse of the existing OMR technology as the primary voting technology, for the simple reason of we are using public funds and the electorate and the BIs are used to it already. Number three, that open public bidding to allow the entry of other OMR technology providers for their requirements. Because I think they will have a gap in the number of OMR machines that they will need. Aside from the primary technology to be used, to consider engaging one or more secondary technologies. These secondary voting systems may either be DRE technology or other election systems with a preference for Filipino-developed technologies, which shall likewise be selected through open public bidding, provided that they interoperate with the CCS or the canvassing system, and that it is strongly recommended that the secondary technologies be used in metro city areas and comprise at least one voting center covering a minimum of 20,000 votes. As one of the secondary technologies, consider the use of internet voting for OFWs and other Filipino citizens living in other countries. Considerable technological progress has been made towards ensuring the security and integrity of internet-based transactions. With regards to the CCS, we recommended that the current CCS or the COMELEC developed CCS be used for the following reasons. Again, judicious or prudent use of public funds and experience with the system, provided that the CCS selected can interoperate with both the primary and secondary technologies to be used. Well, the other recommendations are with regards to the source code review and the transparency of the general system in general.
Congressman Erice?
Of course, your primary consideration is the funding or the best available technology. Between the two, what is the primary consideration in that decision, in that recommendation?
Well, sir, the best technology would be the one that best captures the objective of the election. So one is, of course, cost. Well, actually, cost is the secondary. The primary is the expression of the electorate of what they want. So we feel that given that this is only the second time the electorate will use it, they would learn more. It would be difficult, sir, if we shifted the bigla. We shifted to a new set of new technology, okay, and the electorate will have to relearn the whole thing again. See? So, and we have, if we consider the fact that we have all these machines, that, yes, sir, we feel that this would be the best technology so far. But we should look into the moving forward.
And I think the COMELEC should really decide on the best technology, regardless of the cost. Maybe the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee can help convince the executive branch of our government to really put some investments in the best technology for 2016 elections. Thank you.
Is that the reason why you're deciding early so you can include it in your budget request?
We already included it, Your Honor.
Did you have-
The budget call was April
What
this
did
year.
you have? What did you have in mind when you made the
When
budget
we
request?
requested, Your Honor, we requested for 16 billion for new machines.
So,
that's for a class precinct
OMR,
of
OMR.
600. 600 voters per precinct.
So in effect, tumugma din yung recommendation na to use the existing OMR technology.
Actually, yung recommendation na, Your Honor, tumugma sa DBM. Hindi sa amin.
Bakit?
Ang DBM wanted us to use the old PICOS.
Okay. But yeah, as far as technology is concerned, tugma kayo
tugma,
OMR.
no? OMR,
Okay.
kung OMR to.
OMR. Hardware is, you want new. Okay. Okay, so that's the one in the budget. Mr. Penson, you wanted to say, before Mr. Penson, sige, Congressman Erice.
Ang ibig niyo sabihin, if you will be using the other machine, then you will be discouraging other technologies, other players. So it would be Smartmatic again?
Consider din po namin, no? Ang primary factors lang namin bakit gusto namin new, no? Number one, alam namin kukulang kami ng machines, 'di ba? Kung ginamit namin yung old, kailangan namin ng integrator. Magkakaroon ng operations wise, magkakaproblema kami kasi dalawang linya 'yan. We may not have sufficient personnel to man two production lines going to We will have 2 general instructions to BEIs. We will have 2 separate trainings to BEIs. So maraming posible pag dalawang sistema ang ginamit namin. Kaya ang inisip namin to give us more flexibility was we wanted a brand new, one integrated system. No, that's what we requested. But we didn't get what we requested.
What's the difference in cost?
Mas malaki, Your Honor. Like example, when we requested 16 billion, but what was given to us was 10.3 billion. That's about 5.7.
So about 5.7 billion. Maybe the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee can convince the executive branch, the DBM, to give in to the new sets in the amount of 16 billion. So the difference is only 5.7 billion pesos. Yun lang, yung diferensya, pero magagarantiya naman na magkakaroon tayo ng mga bagong makina at makakapasok yung ibang players.
Ang sa amin naman, Your Honor, no, to be frank, candid also with you, no, yung when we ask for new machines, it also gives us flexibility in the budget, no. Meaning, ibig sabihin, kahit humingi kami 16 billion, pero at the end of the day, ang decision pa rin namin gamitin yung old PICOS. Posible pa rin yun. No, but if you have bigger budget, you have more flexibility. Yun lang talagang concept, no, aside from the operational difficulties that we will face.
Operational difficulties if you have 2 systems.
2 systems.
Especially if you divide the country equally. But I think the law allows some flexibility that you can test a new system in a limited area or jurisdiction. I think that law allows that.
Tinitingnan din namin po.
Preparatory to introducing or adapting the new technology in the future, di ba? Parang pilot testing pero official.
Opo.
Official result pero pilot testing. Tama, no? The law allows that, Commissioner Lim. No?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yusek Casambre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to dispel the idea that should we buy new, we will not have any more problems. In fact, it is common practice in industry not to upgrade simply because you already know the problems of the current version. No, it's knowing the problems allows you to mitigate. Not knowing problems, which normally in software there always are, leaves you to the mercy na pag minalas ka you cannot take countermeasures against problems you do not yet know. No? On the matter, sir, of Kwan, yung having a second system, actually the recommendation requires that it interoperate the machine, kunyari hindi siya Smartmatic, should interoperate with the CCS, although it will not be able to use the EMS of the COMELEC. However, the input files should be made the same. So it will while it does present a challenge for the COMELEC, as if the size is limited to a big enough pilot area, the problem will be contained, no, but allow us to move forward also.
Yeah, ultimately that's the decision of the COMELEC. No? Mr. Penson, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, first, I just wanted to, my observation here is that elections really more fun in the Philippines. And I think the last two elections we've had has been the most expensive also for the country. Tapos ngayon, meron pang request ng panibagong budget. But up to now, the automated election law still has no IRR to speak of. Wala tayong basihan kung ano talaga ang kailangan ng tao para sa credibility. While yung mga digital signatures, it has been proven both by DOST, wala. We don't even get a receipt for who we voted for were actually counted. Wala. All we get is a thank you. So what kind of election is that? Where's the credibility? Where's the integrity of our election here? Now we want another 6.9 or 16 billion pesos so there's more flexibility for COMELEC. Sa tingin ko, Mr. Chairman, gawan muna ng committees ninyo yung IRR so we know exactly what to expect. And then make it crystal clear that every single vote of every single Filipino is counted and that he gets a receipt for it. We don't need a thank you when we exercise our right to suffrage. We need proof that our vote was counted.
Thank you, Mr. Penson. If a citizen believes that the election being conducted is not in accordance with law, can that citizen question the entire system before the courts? I think the courts, no. Mr. Penson, do you have any intention of questioning all of this before the courts?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we actually have a case now pending in the Supreme Court, of which 3 days after we filed it, I got a letter to be audited by the COMELEC. And up to now, although they promised to give me clearance, they won't clear me for my...
I think all of us who ran got letters. It was only...
so the timing was
the
just
timing. It was
perfect.
only the timing. But all of us got letters. Mr. Cabera of Kapatiran Party?
Yeah, I think that's precisely one of the problems that we would like to address. And I would like to inform the body, and I'm sure the chairman would know already about this, that we recently filed an indirect initiative bill in both houses of Congress seeking to amend the AES law, no? And this is amidst our observation that while the 2013 midterm elections was generally successful, we also cannot deny the fact that from observations of other people, it encountered its share of problems and controversy, including allegations of electoral fraud, discrepancies between the RMA and tallies, yung computerized tallies, the so-called 60-30-10 pattern, and malfunctioning PCOS machines. No? And you also mentioned a while ago that while we have here an advisory body, the CAC, it doesn't really have any vote on what system, and so is the JCOC, no? So at the end of the day, it is COMELEC's decision, and what we should, I guess, try to address first is the discrepancy between the law, no, and what COMELEC can do, no, and it is in this regard that we have proposed in the amendment bill that we filed, no, just 3 items in the existing bill. Number 1 is to sort of put emphasis on COMELEC's implementation of an automated system in accordance with law. Why do I say that? This is what the Section 1, the Declaration of Policy, no, in the present law states. It says here, the state recognizes the mandate of authority of the Commission to prescribe adoption and use of the most suitable technology of demonstrated capability, taking into account the situation prevailing in the area and the funds available for the purpose. Can we just simply say it in accordance with law? Because, as you would note, very significant in the automated election system is a section on minimum system requirements. And I think that's
Mr. Cabrera, you have a bill, no? That's a pending bill.
Yeah, that's.
Can you just give me a report, kasi that will be now a subject of the regular.
You already have a
legislative
copy of that.
Committee. Yun
Yeah.
lang. Kasi this joint congressional oversight, we are overseeing the performance of the 2010-2013 so that we can prepare for 2016.
Yeah.
But if we need bills, you can give it to my committee.
Yeah, we already filed it,
Okay,
and your committee has a copy already. But let me just go on. That's the first point.
Before you proceed, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of another member of the Senate panel, Senator Grace Po, who is here. Thank you, ma'am.
So that's the first point, no. Sa declaration of policy pa lamang ng batas mismo, yung batas, it bestows upon the COMELEC the full discretion to determine kung ano yung best suited technology, no? In spite of the fact that there's also in the law certain minimum system requirements, no? And historically, in the 2010 and 2013 elections, there were allegations na so many of the features have not been complied with, no? So,
kaya tanong ko kanina yan, if a citizen feels that there is non-compliance with the law, what does a citizen do?
Hindi, kaya nga
he goes to court to question the action of COMELEC.
Okay. So maraming kaso sa Supreme Court, no? Isang kaso diyan, inireklamo hindi nag-comply dito sa certain feature na to, pero ang paliwanag ng COMELEC, pinalitan naman namin ito eh. Okay? So, but if you are going to refer to a law that bestows on COMELEC the full discretion, paano kahit sinong citizen ang magreklamo sa Supreme Court, babalikan yung basic law.
No, okay.
Di ba? So that has to be emphasized. So that's the first one, on the declaration of policy. And on the second one, the minimum system requirements. And there are two proposals, simpleng proposal lang. We just need to emphasize that the minimum requirements are mandatory. No? Pinag-uusapan natin dito ngayon kung ano yung system na ipoprovide natin. I think it will make me comfortable to feel na kahit anong sistema yung didesisyonan ng COMELEC in the future, it complies with the minimum basic requirements. No, and number 3, no, kuminsan kasi nagpe-prepara tayo sa eleksyon, tapos we at the end of the day, we will be faced with a situation na ganito. Ito lang ang available system. Kasi ito lang ang available dun sa technology provider. Pag nandun na tayo sa puntong yon, wala na tayong paraan para bumalik. Otherwise, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng eleksyon. So, what I'm trying to say here, halimbawa, if there are 10 minimum requirements, tapos 7 lang yung kayang i-provide ng technology provider, no? Ano mangyayari doon? Wala na tayong choice eh. So, ganun na lang pupunta tayo. We have to live up with what is available. So, there is a new provision that we provided that in case one or more of the minimum system requirements cannot be satisfied. And ito yung sinasuggest ni Mr. Gas Lagman, we should go back to the old manual precinct count, no? And automate canvassing. So yun lang po. I would like to...
Kasi mandatory sila. If no one can comply, then you go to the...
Exactly.
Okay. And it's in your bill.
It's in the bill. We
Thank you for the
tell
inputs, Mr. Cabrera. Before Chairman, si Senator Grace po wants to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't here earlier, but please excuse me. I was at another hearing of equal importance, the lunch program for our public school children, so I wasn't here to greet our chairman a happy birthday. Happy birthday, sir. My question is just simple. I think that 2016 is looming, and we need to know, have you started your bidding process, or at least the specs of what type of system we're going to be using in 2016? I know that's part of the discussion here, but have you given yourself a deadline, especially, Chair, you'll be retiring soon? Is there a time frame?
Generally, may mga important deadlines. When you will choose, when you will buy,
for Your Honor, if I can answer for the chairman, we intend to have the choice of technology by August 26. We have started the draft terms of reference already. We intend to have bidding by September, Your Honor. This September, Your Honor. But we cannot award it yet until next year, Your Honor.
So how long is the process when you start? Wait, the bidding will be in September. How long is it usually before you can?
3 to 6 months, Your Honor. The entire bidding process that includes 2 failures and 1 negotiated.
Do you think that's enough? To order all of that with the specs necessary.
It was done in
long enough.
That's more than enough time if you compare the 2010 data, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lim, you mentioned terms of reference. The terms of reference will include the accuracy level.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will you now lower the 99.995%, which you required in 2010? Are you going to touch that accuracy rating?
We still retain that 99.995 for hardware acceptance test, Your Honor.
And how is our hardware acceptance accuracy to be tested? State your name, please.
Actually, Your Honor.
Good morning, Your Honors.
What's your name, ma'am, for the record?
I am Jeannie Flororita, the Acting Director of the Information Technology Department. During the acceptance test po, on the accuracy test, 99.995 is 1 error for every 20,000 marks. For that 1 error for every 20,000 marks, we need 400 ballots because we have to mark 50 marks per ballot. So that's 20,000 marks. During the acceptance test of accuracy, we will feed the 400, and in order for that machine to be accepted, it should have 99.995 plus accuracy.
At more than 1 error.
Yes,
so who will
Your
look for
Honor.
the error? People, human beings will look for the error, hindi ba?
Yung pong result ng election returns, after feeding, i-check yung ER kung merong error dun sa basa.
Kasi alam ninyo how you mark the ballots.
Yes po. Predetermined
So, makita nyo,
po yung shade ng ballot.
Right. So, yeah, it's really an audit na kayo kasi yung gumawa kayo nag-fill up nung ovals, you know the result, then you compare.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's for the record. And siguro, anyway, this will be an ongoing effort to oversee the preparations of the COMELEC for the 2016 elections regarding the automated election system. Yun yung mandate po namin. As well as involve the CAC and the stakeholders in the effort and the citizens. So it's past 12. Our colleagues have some commitments to go. Chairman,
one final
would like to invite us to where, Chairman? Nothing? Okay. Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, kasi marami tayo pinag-uusapan dito. I just heard amendments to the law, proposals to amend the law to be stricter in the implementation of the automated system. Gusto ko lang masabihin, basically, ang election law, long before, as far back as 1949 siguro, ng revised election code pa ginagamit natin. No? Up to the present, manual pa ang ginagamit natin. There is one basic principle in election law which I think everybody should try to understand. Ganito ang pagkakasabi ng Korte Suprema in several cases already. Mandatory provisions in election law becomes directory after. Sana ho makonsider lang palagi yun. Kasi every time we go into an election, all the laws are provided for. The laws provide for very strict requirements, especially now that we're in the automation system. Pero ho, pag pinasukan nyo na yan, hindi ho pwedeng hindi magkamali, hindi masunod yung batas, merong konting errors, tapos madedemanda kami dahil hindi namin sinunod yung batas. Ang sagot dyan is, hindi naman ho kami nang gumagawa ng hindi naman namin sinasadya sirain. Talagang may konting mga depekto lang. Pero this is really tolerated in the sense that all of these errors becomes directory already after the elections. What is important is that the accuracy is not affected. Kung nagkamali lang dahil nagkaroon ng linya, pero kung hindi naman naapektuhan ng accuracy, okay lang ho yun. Hindi naman nasunod. Nagkaroon ng digital signature ang require ng 9369. Kine-question nila, inakyat na nila sa Supreme Court. Sinabi na Supreme Court, pwede na yung digital sa makina. Ayaw pa rin nilang maniwala. May violation pa rin yun. So, hindi naman kami mas marunong pa sa Supreme Court. So, every time there's an interpretation na sinasabi nila, we need an IRR. I do not know what law under the current where it is required that there should be an IRR. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. Tapos, meron ho magdedemanda sa amin left and right. Mga natalo ho na senatorial, magdedemanda long after the electoral protest has lapsed. Ang dami hong hindi naman ho kami, kawawa naman ho kami masyado. Ang dami ho namin pinapreparahan. Tapos, magdedemanda ganito, mali doon. Sana ang pakiusap ko lang ho sa lahat ng tao. Pumasyal lang ho kayo sa amin. Hindi naman ho kami nagsesara ng pinto eh. Kung meron ho kayong reklamo, pakikita namin sa inyo ang mali at anong tama at anong ginawa namin. Saan kami nagkamali? Marunong ho kami umamin ng mali. Maniwala ho kayo sa amin. Hindi ho kami perfect. But the automation system is never perfect. It will never be perfect. Therefore, the mandates of the law can be contravened or there will be violations of the mandates of the law. But that is never intentional. If it is intentional, it is criminal. I'm willing to go to jail if there is anything intentional. Kaya lang ho, pag natapos na eleksyon, demandaan pa ng demandahan, pinahihirapan niyo lang ho kami. Nagpe-prepare na kami sa 2016 eh. Ang dami-dami pang demanda, dami pang question. Meron pa nagpapabilang through a civil case. Meron pa nagbibilang ng sarili nila doon sa kapaan. Ano ba naman? Magtulungan na lang ho tayo. Let me end by saying that the JCOC is a body under the law. This is the law. This is the mandate of the law. That you are supposed to mandatorily convene 1 year after, within 1 year after the elections of May 2013. So, kung demanda ho namin kayo, hindi naman kayo nag-convene 1 year before, within 1 year. Pero hindi ho naman ganun ang batas. Yun ang batas. Pero it can be, becomes directory. That's why we're honoring JCOC. Now, we're very happy to be here despite the fact that the 1 year has already lapsed. Kung nag-convene hito ay kaagad immediately after the elections as mandated by law within 1 year, we could have done so many things. Kasi fresh pa ho yung mga mali. Marami ho tayong makokorek, marami tayong ma-amend na batas, marami ho kami sanang mapopropose. Ngayon, nandun na kami sa kalagitnaan ng preparasyon. We are preparing already for 2016. Dadating na naman itong mga digital signature, IRR, wrong count, kuwan. Pwede ba ho magtulungan na lang tayo at gawin natin maganda yung 2016? At kung may mali kami, sabihin nyo sa amin yung mali namin, pero wag naman puro demanda na lang inaabot namin. So, ang sinasabi ko lang ho, mandatory before the elections, directory after. Simple and simple lang ho. That is not my statement. That's the statement of the Supreme Court in numerous cases, in election cases.
Thank you, Chairman. But of course, a review requires us to look back and then to review. We have to look back and then we have to see saan ang mali. But this is the purpose is not really to make life more difficult for you, but to help. Yeah, tutulong tayo.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
That's why we're here.
Yung 23% failure to transmit, paano natin i-improve yun next time?
Tama po
Ganun po. But anyway po, itutulungan po tayo rito. And then since we are all concerned with accuracy, the wording of the law is right before me. It is not mandatory to convene. It is the mandatory review of the. So just to correct the chairman, no, kasi we also want accuracy. Mandatory review of the system. It's
within
not,
1 year.
Yes, sir. It's not really a mandatory physical get-together of the members.
Within
of the
1 year
committee.
ho ang sinasabi ko.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ganun din po yan. It's a mandatory review of the automated election system law every 12 months. Okay. So anyway,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
one
sir,
last thing.
Congressman Elise.
Mr. Chairman, I just wonder if still there's time or if it's still possible that those who express interest in providing technology for the 2016 elections to present to the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee.
My attitude is that this committee has no deadline. The CAC observe a deadline, COMELEC observe a deadline. We have no deadline, but if we come up with a consensus and make a proposal, if it's way past their deadline, I don't know if what value that would be. Pero this committee will be open for the information of the general public of the existence of alternative technologies that we can use. Anyway, so it's way past our deadline. So I will suspend this hearing, but we will continue with the agenda we have agreed upon to be added with some more items, especially the review of the recount made by the Gapan RTC. So, are you available August 28? Can we do this August 28, Mr. Chairman? 2 Thursdays from now.
Sure.
Okay, kayo? Okay ka mo?
We'll just make some arrangements. We'll just see how the process will be.
Okay.
Because it's not a matter of just coming with the recount. There has to be retrieval. What witnesses we have to talk to the judge.
Can we do it in 2 weeks? Kaya?
We'll try to work it out within the next few days. And then we'll submit a report. We'll set it on the 28th.
Okay, we set it. So the hearing is hereby suspended until 9:30 a.m. August 28, 2014. Thank you very much, all of you, for your attendance.